Hi there, Jill.
Hey, Amanda, I'm just making sure that everything is looking okay on the live end.
Awesome.
Getting that loaded here. Okay. Hey, Amanda, how are you doing?
Hey there, Jill. Doing great. Thanks for having me.
Good. So yeah, just still waiting to load to make sure that this is looking okay for everybody out there. But hopefully you're seeing our smiling faces. We're so excited to be with you this afternoon to be celebrating NASA's Mars Perseverance rover landing, fingers crossed. And we're going to be talking about how the Green Bank Observatory and the Green Bank Telescope that you see behind me here is supporting this mission, this effort. I do public relations for the Green Bank Observatory. And Amanda, tell me about what you do.
Well, I am the public outreach manager at the Green Bank Observatory. So I oversee operations of our science center. I do some of our public programming and events and things like that. And I have to say that I'm especially excited, Jill, to have you at the helm here today. A lot of you out there see my face pretty often because my role is pretty public facing. But if you have ever followed our social media or read our newsletters or press releases or facilities brochures, you have seen the handiwork of Jill, and it is vast and a huge reason for our growth. So Jill, thanks for all you do in bringing our ideas to life, including this live broadcast.
Oh, thanks, Amanda. And I know folks have seen a lot of you recently. You've done a lot of interviews with some of our scientists, and we will be sharing those again today, this afternoon. We've got those on deck, and they're really used to seeing you and Brooklyn, your daughter, do fun science experiments and have story times, and we're going to be sharing some of those again too.
Yeah, I've had a blast putting together public programming for this event, and as you said, taking part in of those, and with myself, with my daughter. NASA's outreach team put together a great resource package for this mission that really made it easy to promote and engage with. We've built straw rockets and landers and rovers and just have had lots of fun. We've also teamed up with our friends at the Clay Center for the Arts and Sciences in Charleston, West Virginia to promote NASA programming. The West Virginia Science Public Outreach Team, also known as West Virginia SPOT, did a great Mars presentation. We set up a podcast interview with you and NASA IVNV in Fairmont, which, like you said, we'll hear some of later. The WVU Planetarium and the West Virginia Alliance for STEM and the Arts are always great partners too. So these are some other organizations that are located right here in West Virginia that are doing great things and promoting science in the Mountain State and beyond. And it's always nice to have the opportunity to work with groups like that.
Yeah, you did such a good job listing our partners. I'm so glad you did that. If you have any questions about these or the different resources that we're mentioning, go ahead and put a question in the comments. Amanda and I will be taking a peek at those and sharing links if you need them. You can always visit our website at greenbankobservatory.org, and you can find a lot of resources there as well. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to share with you, add to our view, the control room. Hopefully you guys can see that. So hopefully, well, what we're calling the Green Bank control room, it's our auditorium where we have a couple of folks who later, Will Armentrout and Amber Bonsall. And yeah, hopefully you can see them as well. So, but up here on deck, we have someone who works with us at the observatory, Galen Watts. So I'm going to go ahead and get him spotlighted as well so we can see Galen. And Galen, why don't you tell us a little bit about what you do at the observatory?
Okay, I'm an engineer. I've been here about 24 years now. I work with the electronics that sits between the antenna and the back end that a scientist would use to analyze their signal, their data, that kind of thing. For this specific mission, the Jet Propulsion Laboratory sends us a special piece of equipment for their specific radio signal. And I engineer the connections between our system and their system and help maintain it. In fact, I'm sitting not far away from them right now in case something tries to go wrong. We've got a quick response. We can prevent that and hopefully save their data.
That's great. Is this the first time you've worked on a NASA project or worked with projects about Mars?
With Mars, this is probably the fourth or fifth one I've worked on, going back into the early 2000s. And I was also did the same thing for the Cassini-Huygens mission that landed on Titan, the moon of Saturn, quite a few years ago, in fact.
That's great. I love you mentioning that specifically because for those folks out there who know about the Green Bank telescope, they may not realize that we work so frequently with NASA and so frequently with other national and international space partners and scientists. So this sort of event that gets everyone excited is a really awesome way for people to either be reminded of that or learn about it for the first time. So how do you feel today, Galen, or the days leading up to this and all the action that's happening?
Well, it never is not exciting. These are always, very special events. This is something that, the people that work on these for the Jet Propulsion Laboratory, for some of them, it's a once in a lifetime occurrence. And this being my fifth or sixth one, the excitement's always there. And this one in particular, the lander itself, the Perseverance lander, will actually autonomously steer itself to a good landing spot on the surface of Mars. And the biological instrumentation they've got on it, searching for signs of life on the planet Mars, that's like a first in a few decades now that they've done that. There's a helicopter on this lander. They're going to do a little exploration in the air or the atmosphere of Mars. Probably shouldn't use the word air if it's Mars, but and for the first time, they're going to have microphones and there'll be sound. We'll be able to hear what it's like on Mars and not just see it. That's pretty exciting.
That's awesome, Galen. Sorry, there's so many buttons here on my control panel and all my broadcasting software. I had to unmute myself there. So yeah, is there anything else you'd like to share? You're somebody who we don't always see in the spotlight. You're really behind the scenes. I know that you've been a very important part of Green Bank for a long time. You actually received an honor and award about this past year. I don't want to embarrass you, but I'm just so glad we get to chat with you and kind of bring you out in the spotlight. Is there anything else you'd like to add?
Oh, not that much. It's been a very rewarding career working here for decades now. It's always fascinating. You make plans for the day, and within an hour or so, you're doing something completely different. It's never dull. I have to say that.
Mm-hmm. Great. Well, thank you so much, Galen. We really appreciate you taking a couple minutes and stopping in to chat with us. Fingers crossed, all your work behind the scenes continues perfectly. So, and it's great to see you. A lot of us miss being on campus and running into each other in the halls. So it's really nice to see your face.
Yeah, likewise. Thank you, Jill.
All right. Take care, Galen.
All right, Jill, we'll have fun with the rest of your programming today. I'm going to stay tuned and I'll be answering questions in the chat and linking people to resources. So if you have any of those, just let us know. Good luck today, team. Bye.
Okay. So, oh, great. Okay, I can now see. In case you wonder what I'm looking at and what's happening with me, I've got a couple of screens here so I can keep track of what's happening with all the folks who we're going to be talking with this afternoon. I have an overview of, again, the control room, one of our auditoriums here on Green Bank campus. And we can see one of our scientists, Will Armentrout, and one of our data analysts, Amber Bonsall, working away there. We're going to be talking with them in a little bit, but do be aware they are working. They're talking to NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory, which is out on the west coast there in Pasadena. So they might need to like get pulled away for a second. They might have to answer a question for a fellow staff member. So just be aware that we are live with them. Let's see. And if you hear a little beep, kind of a fun fact behind the scenes at Green Bank, because we are a community, because of the nature of the science that we have to do a lot of our activities and a lot of our communications wirelessly. So we use Facebook Messenger a lot to talk to each other, to fill each other in, to check in on what's happening. So if you hear that little alert, that's my colleagues and I messaging and sending each other some updates. Well, I think what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to check in on NASA's live stream before we get ready to talk to Will and Amber. So please be aware that as I play some pre-recorded interviews and videos, and as I connect directly to NASA's live stream that they have at NASA, you might see a little bit of lag or a little bit of not the sharpest quality in these videos as we're rebroadcasting them. So if you want to see the original versions, you can visit the video library on our Facebook page. You can visit our Green Bank Observatory YouTube channel. And you can also connect directly to NASA TV, so you can watch that broadcast live uninterrupted there. But we will be sharing their stream frequently this afternoon. This is their mission. This is their project. We're just here to support their good work. So we'll be pointing back to their primary communications several times this afternoon. So I'm just going to go ahead and get that NASA live stream pulled up here for a minute.
Having said that, if you were walking on Mars, you would very, very quickly go right beyond the rovers. They're not moving that fast across the surface. To give you some sense, if there's no obstacles in the way that we have to go around, a really good day of driving on Mars is on the order of 150 to 200 meters. So somewhere on the order of 1.5 to 2 football fields, to give you a sense of the distances that we can go in a single day.
And just to add to that, one of the new things that Mars 2020 has is that it's got some new technology that's going to allow it to drive autonomously a little bit further than Curiosity has been able to in a given drive. So even though they're moving pretty slowly, hopefully we'll be able to make a little bit more progress each day.
To follow up on that question, somebody has asked, what's the difference in the wheels of this rover? Now, I know that there were some changes because we've learned some things from past rovers. John, do you want to tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. When we landed on the surface with Curiosity, the landscape around us has a lot of rock fragments on it. And the wheels, which have held up very well, we started to see after a time that there was some damage to them from driving over these sharp, pointy rocks. What that did basically is resulted in a little bit of a change in strategy, whereas before we might try to necessarily go straightest distance between two lines. Now we would go around things that look like they could damage the wheels. Here we are, something like approaching 8 years into the mission, and the wheels are holding up fine, and it looks like it's not going to be something that impedes us. But having said that, the wheels on Perseverance are designed to be a lot more durable, to withstand those kinds of pointy rocks that were doing a little damage to the wheels on Curiosity. So the sense is that they're going to hold up quite a lot better on Perseverance than they have on Curiosity. Again, though Curiosity has not been handicapped by the damage that's been occurring.
All right, well, we've still got people tuning in. Please submit those questions to us. We've got Greece, Serbia, the UK, North Macedonia, Scotland, Texas, Hawaii again, Arizona, France, Mallard Creek STEM Academy, and homeschoolers in Oklahoma. Thank you all for tuning in. We do really appreciate it. Our next question that came in is from a 12-year-old, and he wants to know if there are plans to send rovers to other planets and which ones. And I'd love to know which planets you all would love to send rovers to.
Yeah, absolutely. So there's currently the Dragonfly mission is in progress. This mission is going to send a robotic rotorcraft to Saturn's moon Titan in the next decade. So this will be sort of a step up from the helicopter that we're flying on Mars. This is going to be a full rover that can fly on the surface of Titan. And actually, I think that because Titan has a smaller gravity, lower gravity than Earth, but a similar atmosphere, it's actually a good place to fly. And so we designed this mission specifically to take advantage of that environment. And I've heard before actually that if a human was standing on the surface of Titan and flapped their arms, they could fly as well. So it's a really cool place to be, and definitely a place that I'm excited to send a spacecraft to.
John, where would you like to send a rover?
Mars. I'm a Marsophile, and I can think of lots of places where I would like to go. But having said that, there are different ways to do things, as Mariah was just describing, on the different bodies in our solar system.
Okay, everybody. Hopefully you were able to see some of that broadcast there live from NASA. So again, that's something we're going to dip in and out of this afternoon. And I also have quite a few pre-recorded interviews that we were sharing over the past couple of weeks as we got ready for all this excitement. We can see Will and Amber working away there at their laptops in the Green Bank room. And I'm going to get ready and bring up an interview that Amanda, who you met earlier, did with Will last week, talking about his excitement for the upcoming mission, what he remembered from previous missions, always loving astronomy and space and keeping track of all of these things that were happening. So I'm going to go ahead and get that pulled up for you so we can take a look.
Amanda here from the Green Bank Science Center, and my guest today is Dr. Will Armentrout, a staff scientist here at the Green Bank Observatory. Thanks so much for joining me today, Will.
Hi, Amanda. Thanks for having me on.
So we're here to talk more about Mars 2020, a current NASA mission with a spacecraft en route to Mars carrying the Perseverance rover and Ingenuity Mars helicopter. This is not at all the first time that NASA has landed on Mars. Will, do you recall tuning into any of those previous attempts?
Yeah, so just about 3 years ago, 2.5 years ago, there was another landing on Mars, the InSight lander. And whenever that landed on the surface, I was a postdoc at Green Bank. So I remember watching it from the control room in Green Bank while there was another scientist at the helm. And I was thinking back to the landing before then in 2012. I also remember watching, and that was right before I moved into graduate school. So I went to graduate school at West Virginia University. That was the week before that started. So it's kind of fun thinking back to, where you were at these big moments. This is pretty exciting for me to be a part of, and for Green Bank to be a part of.
Absolutely. So when we think about these NASA missions, we quite obviously think about NASA as being a huge driver for these, which they are, of course, but they aren't the only entity involved in the success of these missions. Can you tell us a little bit about another organization that provides ground-based support for missions like the Perseverance landing?
Sure. So like you mentioned, this is NASA's mission, and NASA is in charge of building, design, deployment, and landing of the lander. But at Green Bank, our main source of funding comes not from NASA, but from the National Science Foundation. So for projects like this, we contract with NASA, and we have a where we will use the telescope to sense the lander as it goes down onto Mars. But the bulk of our funding for the site is, like I said, through the National Science Foundation. And the way you can get these two organizations right in your head is NASA basically does everything up in the sky, and the National Science Foundation does everything on the land. So the Green Bank telescope, any of the telescopes in Hawaii, or other sites that the US government supports as federal facilities are typically supported by the National Science Foundation, whereas any of those space telescopes or landers are administered by NASA. So Hubble, for instance, is administered by NASA, and the Perseverance lander is the same.
Very cool. So you mentioned the Green Bank Telescope is part of this network that occasionally supports these missions, this Perseverance landing included. And you are actually the Green Bank Observatory project scientist for this landing and will be at the helm of GBT data analysis as the spacecraft makes its descent on February 18th. Is that right?
Yep, that's right.
That's really exciting. But the GBT is not the primary source for confirming the success of each stage of this landing. Is that right?
That's my understanding for this one. So in the past, the Green Bank site has been sort of the primary downlink. Now there is another NASA system in place where they are watching with their own set of telescopes, and Green Bank is receiving at a different frequency. So they are looking at what we call X band, which is around 10 gigahertz, and Green Bank is looking at about 400 megahertz, which is in the UHF band. So that's similar to the types of frequencies that your car radio picks up, for instance.
So we talk about the GBT picking up and how the GBT can be used to interpret it.
Sure. So the GBT is picking up a signal at just over 401 megahertz. So this is a very specific frequency that the Perseverance lander is emitting as it goes down through the Martian atmosphere onto the surface of Mars. And we are just looking at that one frequency the entire journey from space out onto the surface of Mars. So the GBT is going to track Mars, point at Mars, and as the lander changes speed, because it has to really rapidly decrease its speed from tens of thousands of miles per hour to basically nothing in those 7 minutes as it goes through Martian atmosphere, we're able to see slight shifts in the frequency of light that is emitted. And you can think about this like an ambulance that's driving past you. As the ambulance is coming towards you, it has a higher frequency of sound that you hear, and when it passes you and goes away, that sound lowers in pitch. And so we're able to see certain key moments of the lander's descent onto the Martian surface based on where that frequency happens to be.
That's really cool. And how long does it take such a signal to reach the GBT from Mars?
From Mars in its current location, it's about 11 minutes. So I think light from Mars can take anywhere from about 3 minutes to 12 minutes or so, just depending on where Mars is in its orbit. And so interestingly, if it takes 11 minutes for that light to get here from Mars, the whole EDL phase, entry, descent, and landing phase of Perseverance is only 7 minutes long. So Perseverance will have landed before we even get the signal that it's starting to enter the Martian atmosphere.
Oh, wow. That's really scary a little bit. Not
Yeah,
knowing what's happening. You're blind for a few minutes there.
Yeah, so all of these operations that Perseverance are already planned, already coded into the mission. It basically knows what to do, and we are just watching to make sure it does all of those things correctly.
So when we think of the GBT, we think about its collection of radio waves, and you keep using the term light. So that's pretty much can be used interchangeably. Is that right?
Yeah, so light has many different frequencies, and radio frequencies are just one of the versions of light that is out there. So our eyes are sensitive to optical emission, which has a very low wavelength or high frequency. Radio waves just are a much lower frequency of light, longer wavelength. And so the GBT is sensitive to light from about 100 megahertz to about 116 gigahertz.
So I'm sure that the day of events are not the only time that you're working on this project. What kind of preparations are needed for a landing like this?
That's a really great question. There are several tests that we do sort of in the month or 2 months before landing. Luckily, we already have things on Mars that we can point to and detect a signal from. So that's a really good test for what game day is going to be like. So just about a week ago, we had a test where we pointed at Mars and tracked Mars before we knew there was going to be a transmission from another one of the landers on the planet. So we knew that at a certain time, InSight, which is the Mars lander that landed in 2018, was going to transmit a signal. And so we pointed the GBT at that lander, had everything set up like we will have on February 18th, and we were able to see that signal.
Hey everybody, so I just put a pause there in that video that we had pre-recorded with Will Armentrout, who if you can see on the screen, let me get the gallery view up. Oh, and in our gallery view, I'm not sure if you can see, let me go ahead and highlight there we go, that should bring it up. Oh, cool, all right, well, you'll see another person that I'll introduce shortly. But Will Armentrout, we were just replaying in an interview with Amanda White, our Science Center manager, and Will, that they recorded last week, talking about preparations for the lander and what was happening with Will's work. And I just went ahead and hit pause because we have another member of the Green Bank staff that is joining us. Her name is Lucy, and you see her about once a month, sometimes more, because she does a series of Sky at Night videos. And I'm going to go ahead and highlight you there, Lucy. Make sure that we get you to pop up.
Hello. I'm a little excited. You might be able to tell.
Yeah. So the reason why I asked Lucy to join us today is because we're going to be replaying a video that she shot in January, talking about Mars, talking about what you could see in the night sky. And I just wanted to ask her about how she makes these videos, why she's excited about Mars, sharing Mars as an educator, as a member of the Green Bank team, who members of the public, if you've been on site, which unfortunately it would have been before 2020. But Lucy might have given you a tour. She might have led an overnight program for your Boy Scout troop. Nowadays, she's doing a lot of virtual tours and virtual field trips, which if you didn't know we have those, go to our website, greenbankobservatory.org, and you can put in a request to get on the schedule to do a virtual field trip with Lucy for your classroom, your sanctioned group, your astronomy club, whatever it might be. Or she's also doing virtual tours on select Thursdays and Fridays, pretty much
Fridays and Saturdays.
Fridays and Saturdays, you're right. Fridays and Saturdays. So you can sign up for those as well. But I'm blah, blah, blahing here, Lucy. Why don't you tell me about what was in your January video and what you like to talk about when it comes to Mars?
Yeah, absolutely. I love Mars. It's one of the top 8 planets in the solar system, in my opinion. And one of the best things about teaching about Mars is you can bring students outside most of the time, and they can pick out Mars in the sky just because of the color of it. It is bright red, which it's that's why I've got all of my red decorations here today. My rabbits are wearing little red party hats to be very excited. They're not as excited as me about their party hats, but I think they're adorable. But the reason that Mars is red is because it has a whole bunch of iron oxide, which is basically rust. It's the same stuff that rusts your cars or your, okay, if a rabbit falls down on Facebook Live, that's gonna go viral, but it's okay. So Mars has a whole bunch of iron oxide or rust on its surface, which makes it this beautiful red color. So you can actually pick it out in the night sky just because of its color. It's pretty bright and it is very, very distinctly red. And that's actually why it's called Mars. It's named after the Roman god of war. So they looked up and they saw, oh, there's this bright red planet. It must be stained with the blood of Mars's enemies. So they called it Mars after the Roman god of war. Of course, we know now that it is not stained with the blood of the Roman war god's enemies. It's just a little rusty, but it's a really great planet, and it's sort of our closest sort of sister planet. So everyone feels a little bit tied to Mars. Very excited about Mars as a planet.
That's awesome. Thank you, Lucy. I just want to catch people up in case they're just joining us on what's happening this afternoon. You see folks working at computers. You see Lucy in a party hat and Rabbit in party hats. We are broadcasting live from various folks in and around the Green Bank campus. So we see scientist Dr. Will Armentrout, data analyst Amber Bonsall working away in the Green Bank control room. They have a direct line to NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory located on the West Coast in Southern California. And the Green Bank telescope is supporting communications from the Perseverance rover that fingers crossed will be touching down later this afternoon. So we're helping to provide those communications with the Green Bank telescope that you see over my shoulder here. And we are going to be going back and forth, hopefully getting to chat with Amber or Will here shortly. They're, as you can see, busy live. We have a few pre-recorded interviews and videos that we're going to be bouncing back and forth from. We'll also be going straight to the source, which is NASA TV, because they are also broadcasting live. And when it actually comes to the touchdown event, NASA is the authority. They are the source. So we will strictly be broadcasting live from them. I mentioned earlier that if you have any problems viewing any of the videos that I'll be sharing, you can see those in our Facebook videos section. You can also see them on the Green Bank Observatory YouTube channel if you want to view those directly and not rebroadcast through our live here. You can also go directly to NASA TV if you want to view that directly and not the rebroadcast. So Lucy, we're going to keep chatting here if you're all right.
I'm good. I love hearing myself talk. So
Will said
hopefully other people will too.
I think they do. I mean, like I said, you're on pretty publicly once a month with your Sky at Night videos. We've also got Amber hopefully lined up to chat with us when she's available. But again, they're working live. You can see them typing away there, making sure that everything's going good. Okay. Oh, great. It looks like Amber might be ready. Lucy, you can stay and hang out with us to chat after.
Yeah, absolutely.
So let me go ahead and gonna.
Hey, Amber, how's it going?
You want to unmute yourself there, Amber?
Can you hear me?
Yeah. Hey, Amber. One thing that I mentioned earlier when we were talking with Galen is all of us, Green Bank's a close team. It's an awesome place if you've never been. Hopefully when the world settles down, you can come as a visitor, you can come as a scientist or a researcher or an educator, but we're a really close team and we miss seeing each other. So this is a lot of fun today. So Amber, why don't you tell me about your role with us at Green Bank? What is it that you do?
So when I started here at Green Bank, I was actually a telescope operator, but now I am a scientific data analyst. I mostly supply support for observers and things like that and help out with the telescope as my day-to-day job. I also get to work on other things like radar projects and obviously Mars projects and stuff like that.
Yeah, Amber knows quite a lot about asteroids and radar, and down the road, we have some exciting projects coming up with that, so I'm sure we'll be seeing a lot more of her. So what have you been doing leading up to this point to support this Mars project?
So we've been doing a lot of testing, trying to, pointing to the sky where we think Mars will be, looking for RFI. Is there going to be stuff that we're going to see that we want to know in advance if there's going to be any problems or anything? So we've been doing a bunch of dry runs essentially to try to see what the environment's going to be like and make sure that everything's going to work when this all comes down to it.
That's awesome. So one thing that I was surprised when I went to your office, looked over your shoulder, again, pre-2020, is what it actually takes to do this work. There's a lot of coding, there's a lot of back end stuff. I think there's so much to astronomy. When people only think about optical astronomy and only looking through a telescope, they don't realize there's so many different types of astronomy. There's radio astronomy like we do with the Green Bank telescope. That's why it looks different than what people might expect. So when you're actually doing your work, what does it look like to people? What kind of skills are you using?
So a lot of it is coding, and mostly managing. I probably more so because I was a telescope operator, I work more with the mechanical stuff. So I play a lot with the back ends, and there's so many different things you have to have open to, you have the support to help the observer, then you have the support, to actually view the telescope. And then all the different back ends and everything are always up on your screen, which is why the operators have 4 screens that they look at. And when I'm at my office, I actually have 2. Because I have so many things I'm looking at, it's easier to see everything on 2 different monitors. That's been the problem with, the pandemic, is now I'm condensed to one tiny laptop screen, which is not super fun. But
yeah, so maybe to follow what you just said there, what has your work looked like during the pandemic? It sounds like because it's a lot of coding and computer based, you carry on really well.
Yeah, so I pretty much work entirely remotely. This is, I think, probably the first time I've been in the office since this all started. But yeah, I can pretty much do everything I need to do remotely. Radar runs were actually the one thing we never did remote, and we discovered that we can do them remotely as well, because now we had to. So yeah, being remote is actually, just, I can do all the same things I can do. Unlike the engineers who might have to come in and touch equipment, everything I do is virtual, so I don't really have to worry about coming in, except for instances like this.
That's really neat. So how do you feel about this project? How do you feel about this day?
Well, I'm super excited. So I only have an undergraduate degree. So I have a bachelor's degree in planetary geology. And when I was in college, I studied Mars. So this is a big deal for me. I'm like, oh my gosh, I get to do Mars research. Even though I'm, I'm a data analyst doing radio. Because I was, I'd always do optical and stuff like that when I was in college. And now I'm I get to work on Mars still, even though, I'm in a different field. And, I didn't necessarily go and get my PhD, but I still get to work on the things that I love to do. So this is a big deal for me. I'm very excited.
That's really cool. I think it's so awesome when an opportunity like this, as I mentioned earlier, lets us celebrate how The Green Bank telescope, located in Green Bank, West Virginia, is a super important instrument. We're working with NASA. We're working with national and international research facilities and scientists around the world. This really lets us put a spotlight on ourselves. And if folks haven't heard about us and the work that we do, they can get excited and they can have a better idea of what's happening. And it also puts a spotlight on STEM careers. So you started off as a telescope operator. Now you're a data analyst, you have an undergraduate degree. Some folks might think that a career in STEM or a career in science is out of reach for them, or maybe not something for them, but I think it just lets us show all the different kinds of work that's available.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, so I've always loved science, but I'm not the best at math. Math isn't my strong suit. I was not a straight A student in every subject in school, but I still like science. I'm not like, one of these prodigies that you hear of that, do all this advanced work. But I can still do it, and I do what I love, and it doesn't matter that I found my route. I found the path I needed to take to do what I wanted to do. So yeah, I always say, an education isn't always everything. It's great. Experience is just as valuable as well, and actually getting to sit down and do things gives you just as much knowledge as working in a classroom.
I think that's a really good point, and that almost leads me to kind of not segue back to Lucy, but mention Lucy. The education team that Lucy's a part of, there's so many experiences that students of all ages can have, whether they're taking a field trip, whether they're doing an overnight experience, whether they're doing a summer camp or an internship, or if you have your PhD and you're going to get a postdoc. There's like so many different entry points you can get into science with Green Bank. So if you want to learn more about them, go to the Green Bank website, www.greenbankobservatory.org. I want to do a shout out to, taking a look at the feed, WVU Astronomy 106 is watching. Thanks, guys. Monroe Daycare is watching. Thanks, guys. It's so cool to see so many friends and science lovers and Facebook folks who we get to interact with out there. So very cool. Sue Ann Heatherly, who heads the education department, she's saying, Lucy, your rabbits are well trained. So very good, and they are. And just in case you're tuning in and you're like,
currently plotting my demise, but that's all right.
we're wearing red.
Watching,
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
nervous, but that's okay.
Some of the things that are happening, she's got her red balloons, the red party hats to celebrate
Yeah,
the
it's
planet.
Mars
I've got
Day.
red on. I know Amber's got her festive galaxy hat on there celebrating. So yeah, we have live views of the control room in the Green Bank Auditorium where Will and Amber are working. We have Lucy here from education. She popped in to chat with us as well. So Amber, if you're okay to keep chatting until maybe you get pulled away, I'm fine with that. How's that sound to you?
That's fine with me.
Yes.
Amber, I have a question for you.
Uh-oh, sure.
What is like the #1 question that you have about Mars that you're hoping that this rover will help answer?
So to be fair, for me, InSight was actually more of what I focused on, which was like seismology and stuff like that. So as awesome as this one is, I mean, it's going to answer a bunch of questions, and it'll be like the first samples we actually get back, because eventually it'll be able to bring us samples back, or not it necessarily, but it's like packaging samples and stuff. So that's going to be like, for a geologist, geologists always work with, their rocks and they get to touch their soil, but when you're a planetary geologist, you don't. We can't touch Mars. We have fake dirt that we use as Mars simulation stuff, and like try to mimic the conditions, but we've never actually gotten to have a sample of that and play with it. So that actually would probably be the most exciting thing, is maybe I might not get to touch it, but knowing that we're going to get stuff back from Mars that we can actually touch and analyze is going to be awesome.
By the way, if you want to make your own Mars dirt, the West Virginia Spot team has the recipe for that on their website. So wvspot.org, I think. They have an activity about that. But
cool.
so the idea here is that they're going to be caching stuff, right? How does that work?
So they're essentially going to be kind of like bagging it up, and then essentially it's going to be sitting there, and they're going to know where the location is, and then they have to, when they go back to retrieve it, they'll know exactly where each little one is, because what's going to happen is there's going to be wind and dust, and these things are going to get buried. you're not going to be able to see them on the surface, so they have to know exactly where they are in order to find them. And so they're going to mark where they are and, essentially put little baggies. I mean, it's more complicated than that, but for all intents and purposes, they're going to put it in a little baggie and set it there in the ground and wait to come back and get it.
I want some Mars rocks. How do I get some Mars rocks?
I agree. I totally want Mars rocks.
Well, maybe that's a conversation for offline.
Okay.
And yeah, if you hear the little chirping, I'm not sure if that's coming through. I mentioned earlier, because Green Bank is an awesome place, and because we have to do everything in a wired world, we don't have a lot of wireless technology there to prevent interference with the Green Bank telescope. We use Messenger to communicate a lot. So messages are coming in. Oh, okay. I was told you don't hear the chirping. Awesome.
I can make chirping noises if it'll add to the
yeah. Okay, let's see. We have Chiodo Kennels in Philippi. Virginia. Philippi says they're watching, but don't worry, there are no rabbit dogs watching. So
very good.
I was just gonna mention West Virginia SPOT stands for Science Public Outreach Team. If you weren't aware of what that does, it's a program that was created by the Green Bank Observatory with NASA. It exists in West Virginia. They provide free outreach programs. They look different now, they're virtual, but prior to being virtual, they were live and in person. There were undergraduate students who were trained to come out in the community, in towns all across West Virginia, schools, libraries, community centers, festivals. So again, those look different now. We actually had one air live this past Monday as part of Mars. So I do know that they have a Mars program developed, and you'll be seeing more about this, letting people know that it exists, that you can sign up, that you can participate. That will be popping up on our Green Bank social media, and again, the West Virginia SPOT social media, which Lucy mentioned. They have their own Facebook page and website. So you can
it's a really great program that puts undergraduate West Virginians into classrooms to motivate and inspire students, to teach West Virginian kids that they can be at the height of their field and still stay in West Virginia. So we have, the Green Bank telescope right here in West Virginia. So if you want to be, in one of the top radio astronomy observatories in the world, you can do that right here. And it's a really great program for that. Shout out to Sophie, who is the coordinator for WB SPOT. They have a really good Mars program. They have a really good International Space Station program. And if you're interested in inviting one of those ambassadors into your classroom, you can go to wbspot.org. I think just Google WB SPOT and it'll come up.
Yeah, I see that our Science Center Amanda shared that in the chat, which is awesome.
Oh, good.
Amanda on the back end answering a lot of folks' questions. Our old friend John,
Amanda too.
Our old friend John Cooper, who went on to another NRAO site, says hi. He's watching, so that's awesome.
Hi, John.
There's Sophie.
Your townhouse, if you're interested.
And Sophie, I see that you said, hey, thanks, Lucy. If you want to pop in as well, just let me know and I'll send you.
Yes, we can.
Good. I can't deal with more than one screen at a time. I'm not a data analyst like Amber. I can only deal with one thing at a time. So.
Well, Amber, if you're not getting called back to your desk, why don't you tell us about what did you guys set up here in the auditorium? What kind of channels do you have to have? What are you monitoring? What are you taking a look at?
You actually cut out there, Jill. What was the question?
What is your setup here in the auditorium? What are you monitoring? What are you looking at? Who are you talking to?
So as you can hear in the background, Will and I are on a call with a bunch of the people here that are maybe not here on site, but a bunch of our head of operations and our computing department, and we're all kind of in one big chat so that we can talk with the JPL people in case something happens. But what Will will be doing is he'll be controlling the GBT itself to have it move and follow Mars, and I will be running the what we call the JPL Agile receiver, which is actually technically a back end, not a receiver. But so I will be recording in a radar. There's no actual radar. We're not sending a signal up and bouncing it back, but I'm using the radar back end in order to take the data from, so we'll have it from all different angles. So I'll have, which will just essentially be a line. And when the lander shows up, I'll just see a huge spike that'll just pop up on my screen. And then I'll be able to see when it disappears and come back, and I'll see it move and shift and stuff like that. So I'll be able to watch that in real time. So that's what I'm looking at.
So can you sort of walk us through, so the signal is generated by the lander. It travels, minutes through space. It hits the dish. What happens to that signal next? Can you walk us through?
So the signal bounces off our huge 100-meter dish up to a smaller subreflector dish and down. Actually, sorry, in this case, it doesn't hit the subreflector. So this one is using a receiver that is a very low frequency, is actually attached to what we call our boom. So it's a giant feed arm that extends out. And so the signal will bounce from the big dish up to the receiver at the top. It will then be processed kind of in that receiver, and then will be digitally through all wires come back down to the up to the control room and then down to our computers.
Sounds
quite
good. So that's about like 1.5 miles of fiber optic cables from the telescope to the control room.
Correct. Yeah. It's about 1.5 miles.
And then we would.
Okay, sorry, there was just chatting with one of our colleagues as well. So Amber, how long have you been preparing for this project? How long have you been working on this at Green Bank internally?
So I mean, it's been, I remember I think it all started back in, at least like when I started having to pay attention was like October. And then around December is when we were kind of like, all right, we should really start doing things. Because when we did Insight a couple of years ago, it was a lot different because the special backends and stuff that NASA sends us, and they could all come and visit us. And like, the people we're talking to here, we're here in the lab, and I could go with Galen upstairs and work with the back end. But I can't do that now. So it's a little bit, it's a different environment because everything I have to do is remote. So, I mean, we probably really started doing the tests in January, which is when we were officially like, all right, everything's in, we can actually start testing now. But we were preparing months before that for all of this.
Yeah, one of the broadcasts that I'm gonna play again this afternoon, because we have a lot of time until the lander is actually supposed to touch down. That's right. What time? What's the latest time for touchdown?
So we're estimating about 3:50 to 3:55 Eastern time is when
Okay.
And I do want to point out that the fact that we can calculate to about 5 minutes exactly when this lander is going to enter Mars's atmosphere is absolutely crazy. When you think about, the distance that it had to go to get that accurate is really, really impressive. And it's also really impressive that you're doing all of this in a crazy snowstorm with the power going crazy. Like, it is very impressive that, we've been able to manage everything with everything that's not only going on this year, but 2 days specifically.
Yeah.
I would have just gone home. I don't know how you're doing it right now. Well, I'm getting like anxiety just like second, and I don't have to do anything. So
yeah, it's been quite a morning. People's power's going out, it's stuff being dropped out because some different, because everybody's in a different place, some people are losing power and then eventually it comes back, and it's been quite a morning.
Yeah, the fact that we're doing this in the middle of a snowstorm, like Lucy commented, is just you don't know when you're planning for these things what could be happening on the day, and you can't hit pause. I want to mention one of the cool things about the Green Bank telescope that people might not realize is that depending upon what we're doing, we have a dynamic scheduling system, which can be challenging when it comes to planning ahead, but it also lets us make the most of how the telescope operates. Amber, do you want to mention how that works?
Yeah, so essentially we have a weather system that gets analyzed, and it actually predicts and it's like any other weather prediction. It's not perfect, but it will predict out to a certain number of days. And then it looks at the weather, it looks like atmospheric conditions and all those type of things, and it determines what frequency is optimal for that weather. So higher frequencies don't do so well when it's cloudy or, overcast. The lower frequencies, because of their longer wavelength, can go through all those clouds and it doesn't bother them. So if it's perfectly clear, crystal clear night, we're going to do something very high frequency. If it's the middle of the day and it's cloudy, we're going to probably do something low frequency, like an L-band project or something like that. And so everything's updated in real time. And we have obviously somebody, I think actually Tony, I don't know if you did Tony's talk yet or not, but Tony Minter is the one who actually sits there and he checks the dynamic schedule and keeps everything up to date and adjusts things in real time when they have to be adjusted, and has like every project memorized and knows exactly what can run when, and it's very impressive.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and actually, I'm getting some messages. I'm going to go ahead and share that video that you mentioned with Tony Minter, who's another scientist at Green Bank. He's been here for a while, and he and Amanda from the Science Center actually have a chat, again, talking about getting ready for this project, talking about some of the things that Amber was just speaking on. So I'm going to hit pause on you two. So happy you're here with us, so excited, and go ahead and cut to that video with Tony. So Amber, it gives you a chance in case you got to pop back there. Lucy, if you want to keep hanging out, you're more than welcome to, but if you need I'm going to go ahead and get that video ready. So let's all hit pause and on ourselves.
John's on his way down to the antenna beneath the bob, and I've got Brand up in the bob, so we're going to move down, continue to move down in elevation, and at some point we'll move back up, and that'll give us the indication of how much weight load naturally going down. It's not going to work the load. That's when we try to move back up. That's what we'll see what kind of load we have. Good news.
Hi everyone, I'm Amanda here from the Green Bank Science Center, and today I have joining me Dr. Tony Minter, a staff scientist and head of GBP Science Operations here at the Green Bank Observatory. Thanks so much for joining me today, Tony.
Well, thanks for having me.
So we're here to talk about an exciting NASA mission happening right now. The mission's name is Mars 2020, as the departure occurred last year. But we have an exciting event happening in just 2 weeks. Tony, can you tell us a little bit about this mission?
Yeah, so NASA has launched Mars 2020. That happened last summer. And the mission will actually be arriving at Mars in a few weeks. And they'll be going through what's called EDL, ascent, our entry, descent, and landing through the atmosphere and landing on the surface of Mars. And this mission has a Perseverance rover.
That's so exciting. And as you mentioned, that's in 2 weeks, February 18th. And that's a really important and really intense part of this mission. So I wondered if you could take us through some of those important steps of these critical landing stages.
Right. Besides launch, this is probably the most dangerous part of the mission, is actually going through the atmosphere of Mars, slowing down enough that you can land on Mars, and then safely begin operation of the Perseverance lander. First thing to know is that it's not like a spacecraft coming back to Earth with an astronaut. There you have a heat shield on the spaceship that deflects all the heat from where the mission starts coming through the atmosphere and starts heating things up. That heat shield keeps everything, especially the ash, from baking. And then coming back to Earth, you can, once you slow down enough from the drag from the atmosphere, it's the same as sticking your hand out the car. When you're going 60 miles an hour down the road, you feel that pressure. It tries to slow your hand down, pulls it backwards. Same thing happens to the spacecraft. It slows down in the Earth's atmosphere. Eventually gets slow enough that you can pop a parachute open, and then that slows you down enough that you can rather gently land on the ground and survive the impact, and it's not too much for you. But on Mars, it's a little bit different situation. The Martian atmosphere is much, much, much thinner than Earth's atmosphere. There's more atmosphere on top of Mount Everest on the Earth than there is at the surface of Mars. So
Oh, wow.
there's not much there to help slow you down. But so Perseverance will start coming into the Martian atmosphere. It'll still have to have a heat shield to protect it because it will slow down a good bit. And it will get going slow enough that a parachute will open and it'll slow it down even more. However, the Martian atmosphere is so thin that it never slows down the spacecraft enough that it can gently touch down on the ground. So you have to put in extra features. So there will be a radar on the lander that will look at the ground, and when it detects that it's a certain height above the ground, it then releases the spacecraft. It then uses rockets to control the descent and slow it down even more. Yeah. Otherwise, there's no way to slow you down enough to land. And they'll be using the sky crane again for this mission. They used it for one of the last rovers. I believe it was Curiosity. And they hover the sky crane above the ground, sort of like you can imagine a helicopter lowering something to the ground, except rather than using blades, this is using a rocket. And then it just lowers the Perseverance rover to the ground, lets go the cables, and then the rocket part of it will fly off and hit the ground somewhere else, and you'll have a rover sitting on the ground ready to run.
Wow. Well, that's really involved and really intense, but this has happened successfully a couple times. As you mentioned, one of them, we were provided backup for another mission in 2018, the Mars Insight lander that happened very successfully. We were excited about. So one reason that we are particularly excited about this mission is because the Green Bank telescope is involved again. Dr. Will Armentrout will give us a little more detailed information about this next week, but can you give us a summary of what the
Okay, everybody. I had to hit pause there on Tony. Hopefully you can see and hear the gang. We had a message that Will could join us now to talk. So we'll have Will chat a little bit, and then we'll also talk with Sophie, who's also joined us. I love seeing all our faces on the screen together. So Will, if you want to go ahead and unmute. Awesome. Okay. So folks, you may have seen Will in interviews, not just from Green Bank, but on some broadcast news channels. He was featured in the press release that went out about this, and I know that it was picked up by a few regional papers. So Will, why don't you tell us about yourself and what your role is on this project?
Sure. So as Jill said, my name is Will Armentrout. I'm a scientist here at the Green Bank Observatory, and there is a potential that I will be called away from this at any moment. So Amber's monitoring things for me. I apologize if I have to be pulled away. So I am the link today between Green Bank and NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory, working with them to try to make sure that everything runs smoothly on our end. As Amber mentioned, weather can be a factor. We want to make sure that we're tracking the source well in advance of the landing, which is happening in about an hour and 20 minutes. So things will rapidly here get pretty busy for us. They take only 7 minutes for Perseverance to land on Mars, but because there's a time lag, as I think you've mentioned before, by the time we get the signal that Perseverance is going through the Martian atmosphere, it will have already landed on the Martian surface. So my role today is to communicate with the team at NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory and at Green Bank. So Amber and I are here in close communication, but there is an entire support crew around the site. Like I said, just making sure that everything goes well for this landing. I will be controlling the telescope, telling it where to point for these observations. We will be pointing just at Mars, tracking Mars across the sky as Perseverance lands. But right before then, we will also be testing some systems of the telescope to make sure that we are pointing in the right place. We're going to point at a really bright quasar to make sure that the telescope is looking exactly where we think it should be before we go to point at Mars. And we can also test levels and what's something called our system temperature that way. So all of these things go into making a Mars mission possible and confirming a successful landing.
That's great, Will. Now, I think you'd mentioned that, you know, you are managing this project, or one of the people who's taking care of this project on the Green Bank end. How long have you been working on this, and what's that looked like day to day?
I have been working on it since about November, but over the past month is when most of the activity has been. So leading up to the landing, we've had a series of tests where we've pointed the telescope at Mars, the Green Bank telescope at Mars, and caught signals from some of the other landers or rovers that are already on Mars. So the past few tests, we've looked at Mars right whenever we knew there was going to be a signal transmission from InSight, which was the last thing we landed on Mars in 2018. And so by picking up that signal, we're able to confirm that our telescope is configured correctly and that things should go well today. We've also done tests of something called RFI at the telescope at these specific frequencies. RFI is radio frequency interference. It can come from things like cell phones, microwaves, Wi-Fi, garage door openers, and Green Bank is in a really radio quiet environment, but we still have some problems with radio interference whenever you're trying to look at some of these really, really sensitive signals. So we're in a great quiet environment, but we want to make sure that we fully understand that radio environment for today's big day.
So how are you feeling particularly about this big day and about the work that's led up to it?
It's exciting, right? It's exciting for all of us to be a part of this. My hands have started sweating over the past hour or so. So that's how physically my body is coping with this right now. But like I said, we have a great team in place. And so I have a lot of confidence in what we're doing. So still can't stop those hand sweats right now.
That's great. Is there anything else you'd like to share about, you know, work that's gone into it or the process of you all sitting there at your computers right now?
Just that it is going to be extremely exciting for us to have Perseverance on Mars. I mean, the fact that we're not only putting a lander or a rover down on Mars, but our first Martian helicopter. And like Amber was talking about, we're stashing away these soil samples to be able to send back the first samples from another planet, an alien world, is really pretty exciting. There's some other really cool instruments on Perseverance 2. One is going to be pooling in atmosphere to try to make some of the compounds that go into rocket fuel, for instance. I think that's called the MOXIE instrument. And so they're basically testing whether on other planets we can pull in the atmosphere and make our own fuel. So that would be important if we had a moon base someday or a Mars base someday. I'm going to do a quick status check with Amber.
Okay, cool. All right, well, we'll turn it over to, we'll chat with Sophie and Lucy. I just want to take a minute and mention, just for people who might be tuning in, we have, let's see, Linda from Marietta says hi, Michael from Raynell, West Virginia, William from Doylestown, PA says he's a longtime friend of Green Bank, so glad you're here watching with us. The Soaring Arrows 4-H Club from Frederick County, Virginia is having a watch party.
Oh, good.
Girls, that's awesome. Do you all know them? Have you worked with them?
Yes.
Oh, cool.
I have not.
Yes.
We love it when our friends
did a little virtual tour with them and they were great. And if you want to do a great virtual tour, you can sign up for one on our website.
Aw, yeah, and Ken's watching with his 12-year-old son who wants to be an astrophysicist one day. says he wants to come for tours and summer camps. Heck yeah, that's a great way to get him started down that path. So cool. We're so excited that you all are tuning in and hanging out with us. And I'm so glad that Sophie could join us. Before I get to Sophie, there's one thing I want to mention, just so people are aware. NASA, this is their project, their mission. We will not be breaking any news or sharing a live feed of the rover actually landing. We will be tuning into NASA's TV channel for that specifically, just like you will. But after it touches down and after NASA's broken that awesome news, then you can tune back into us. We can see, hopefully, Will and Amber excited in the control room there. So we're very excited for that.
Can people see Sophie? Is she pinned?
Oh, good point. Yes, I can see her in the gallery view on.
Okay, just making sure.
Yep, on Facebook. Yep.
Okay, everyone wants to see Sophie's beautiful face. So.
We always get a lot of people. It takes a village to do it.
I'm hoping my orange sweater comes across as red because I don't really have a lot of red in my wardrobe.
Ours is sort of a rusty orange red color. You're fine.
That's right.
Close enough. It's in the same sort of color story.
On Thursdays, we wear red, or at least this Thursday.
That's right.
And Sophie, we mentioned you a bunch. I'm so glad you could join us. So we talked a lot about your West Virginia Science Public Outreach team, but now you're here. So if you want to talk a little bit about the Mars programming that you're doing and all the awesome outreach your program does in West Virginia, that would be awesome.
Yeah, thanks, Jill. I want to start just by giving a shout out to the West Virginia University Spot chapter, because I know they're having a watch party right now. And these ambassadors just do excellent work all year long. Since March last year through the summer, we have been presenting virtually to schools as well as education groups. So if you would like to invite a college ambassador to speak to a group of kids, and you're in West Virginia, we would love to do so. And if you're not in West Virginia, then we plan big events with the West Virginia University Planetarium, as well as we'll have some more events coming up on Green Bank Observatory's schedule for anyone in the world to attend. But our program really has a goal to bring these near peer mentors, so students that are close in age, to just bring an image of a scientist into the classroom and what it looks like, what it takes, and how accessible that is for students who may not have thought about that before. And we focus on science that happens in West Virginia, which I think is just really exciting and allows students, like Lucy said, to picture themselves growing up as a scientist, but also staying close to home, which is something a lot of us really care about. So we have shows on an arrangement of topics going from water and the environment to space. Right now I'm in the International Space Station actually. And so if you saw that robotic arm activity earlier, that goes really well when we talk about the International Space Station or Mars. And then we also do demos and activities, and we keep it really fun and engaging. So rest assured, it will not be, if you do invite us, it's not just a lecture. It's a really, really fun time for kids to explore different topics in STEM.
Very cool. Thanks, Sophie. I see that Will has come back to the screen, so I'll just check in with him. How's it going?
Good. I can fully endorse everything Soph's talking about. The SPOT program is great, but I wanted to pop in to say that we are doing some of our final system checks in advance of the Mars point. So hopefully within the next 15 to 20 minutes, we will be pointing at Mars, tracking as it moves across the sky, with a successful landing at 3:55 p.m. It wouldn't see next to me, so I just knocked on it.
Oh, you're calibrating with a Quasar?
That's right.
How does that work? Can you talk to us a little bit about that?
Sure. So quasars are very, very distant objects that are pretty steady in their brightness. So if we point at a quasar, we know that it will be about a certain luminosity whenever we look at it with the telescope. So we can use that to estimate things about our system, how much noise we have, and then calibrate any other observations we make against that quasar. But also, we know its position very, very well. And so that's the main thing that we are worried about right now, is making sure that the telescope is pointing just where we expect it to be pointing in advance of pointing to Mars. We do not want to go point at Mars and be off by a couple telescope beams, right? We're going to see that signal from Perseverance, and this is one of the ways that we're able to check our system and make sure that it happens.
That's awesome, Will. And one thing that we will be doing that I mentioned is NASA's the lead on this story. We'll be going to their live broadcast as the action actually happens, and then we'll be coming back to Will and Amber afterwards to celebrate and get their perspectives, find out what it was all about. So sounds like you might be tuning off or signing off for right now until we get to that point on the other side.
Yep, I'm going to go away. Most of we're not going to really see signals from Mars until I'm going to estimate about 3:30 p.m. or so, a pre-signal from Perseverance. But like Jill said, we're going to cut away from our screen so you don't see our reactions as it happens.
No spoilers.
Yeah, NASA gets to release it.
Yeah, we're all
Good luck.
Yeah, all right. See ya on the other side, Will.
Have fun.
Okay, so like you said, I'll just keep their screens up there for right now, but at some point you'll be seeing them disappear for a little while. We will switch back to the live NASA broadcast. So if you're just tuning in, or if you didn't hear the message earlier, we're live from various locations around Green Bank. We have our Green Bank control room set up there, talking to the Jet Propulsion Laboratory out there in Southern California. So we're supporting communications that the rover will be transmitting from Mars. If you do want to actually see NASA's live stream, you can go to NASA TV, or I will also be cutting to that as it's happening. And again, I mentioned that if you have any problems with video quality as I'm rebroadcasting things here, you can tune in directly to NASA TV. I have some videos that I've been popping in and out that were pre-recorded with folks like Lucy or other scientists, Tony Minter. There was an interview with Will Armentrout. There was even an interview that I did with a project manager from NASA's IV&V facility, which is also located in West Virginia, and how they were supporting this mission.
Named after Katherine Johnson, who is also a West Virginia native.
Thank you, Lucy. Exactly, yes. Maybe you want to speak a little bit more on that. Eric, who I interviewed, actually mentioned that when I was speaking to him. That was a newer thing that happened.
Yeah, absolutely. So Katherine Johnson is, of Hidden Figures fame. She was one of the computers that helped us land people on the moon. And she is a West Virginia native, and we've named a whole bunch of stuff after her because she's very impressive. Yeah, Sophie, I think you know a little bit more about that in IV&V because you work with them a little bit more, but.
Yeah, the facility is really cool in that it's sort of a homework checker for missions that exceed a certain amount or have significant importance. For example, carrying people, and they make sure all the software is written correctly and there's no bugs that may not convert certain units to empirical units or things like that. So it's actually a sponsor for West Virginia Spot, and they developed a few of our presentations and have an awesome educator resource center that allows you to rent out planetariums that are inflatable, as well as telescopes, and have fun robotic camps as well, and rocketry, I think. So all of the fun stuff that gets students excited.
That's very cool. Sophie, I'm going to ask you a question in a minute. I'm just going to shout out to a few more people who are commenting. Aaron Lovato, who's a colleague of ours.
Hi, Aaron.
Good luck, Will and Amber. Dina White, who the White family are huge supporters of Green Bank, and I've seen her popping up in here a few times. So lots of love to the White family. Help us have been big Green Bank supporters for many years now. Yeah, so Sophie, we just kind of pulled you in Can you tell us a little bit more about your background and the kind of educational work you do for Green Bank?
Sure, Jill. Yeah, I came to West Virginia actually as a raft guide and climbing guide, and stuck around because the outdoors are so amazing here and accessible, and got hired by the observatory as the education assistant in 2016. So coming up on completing my almost 5th year. That's really exciting. And I am the STEM educator. I coordinate a couple of programs for the state, West Virginia Spot being one of them, and another called Leap into Science is a national initiative that combines literacy and STEM activities and is really fun. It opened my eyes to all of the places that we can use science, from things as simple as looking at the cover of a book and saying, what do I predict is going to happen in this book based off of what I see? And I really love that aspect of it. I also help with the summer camps, which I sorely missed. I definitely missed the campers this year and am sad that we will be virtual, or last year, and am sad that we will be virtual this year, but can't wait to interact with those rising 9th and 10th graders again with Physics Inspiring the Next Generation, or PING camp, as well as Governor's School Institute. So other than my role as an educator and public outreach person, I am on the safety committee as well as the rec board committee, which are 2 really great programs on site where employees, like Jill said, are just super tight knit and think about other ways that we can engage employees in fun recreational activities.
Yeah, and the newer sustainability committee, which one of our scientists created, Dr. Pedro Salas, who's a postdoc with us. There is I wasn't aware of it before. I haven't really talked about myself, I'm not going to do that right now, but not being a scientist, I wasn't aware that scientists and astronomers had formed their own working groups or committees about sustainability, not just about the things we think about with the big headlines, but that the fact that sometimes their specific work has a specific environmental impact, and that even applies to astronomers. So Pedro brought that up as an initiative that Green Bank staff would want to think more about. So, I mean, from super obvious things, people think about recycling, but all the way to like energy consumption, all sorts of facets of sustainability and environmental concerns. So I know you're on that committee, and so am I. So there's a lot at Green Bank and a lot that we do.
Yeah, it's been really fun getting to know Pedro more through that initiative, as well as working to think up ideas that are outside the box, like you're talking about. We actually went skiing up at Snowshoe yesterday, so that was a good time.
Yeah, big shout out to Pedro, and also Jack, who is his bunny.
Also, Kim's cookies.
They have not met my bunnies, but we might schedule something to celebrate.
Aww. We just got a very cute message from Jonathan. He said that Lucy and Sophia, 7-year-olds in Helvetia, are so excited to see these smart women leading the way in science.
Oh,
and Sophia, so cool.
Love Helvetia. Can't wait for Fosnock next year. Hopefully they have it.
I know. Well, I'm just going to do my sort of spiel that I've been mentioning for all the new folks tuning in, so you understand what you're seeing and what's happening. So the screens up top, we can see our Green Bank Observatory control room, where scientists Will Armentrout and data analyst Amber Bonsall are hard away at work, both controlling the Green Bank telescope and controlling it on the back end as far as the observations. It's going to be doing the communications it's going to be receiving from the NASA Mars Perseverance rover as it touches down. And they have a direct line of communication with NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory, which is on the West Coast out there in Southern California. And again, if you want to see the live latest action of what's happening and what NASA is able to show right now, you can tune into NASA TV, and we will be pulling up that broadcast ourselves at some point for the action as it happens. And then immediately after it happens, or shortly after that, we'll be coming back to Will and Amber in our control room to see the reaction and talk a little bit more about what happened. I also have Lucy and Sophie here with me, two really awesome educators who are part of the Green Bank Observatory and the Science Center. We were so used to welcoming thousands of visitors all the time, you know, and then 2020 happened, so things have changed. So we have a lot of virtual programs that are available, and fingers crossed, we're working on some outdoor programs that we hope to offer in a limited capacity this summer. So I don't know if either of you, being so involved in the education programs and the virtual options, if you want to chat a little bit about that.
Yeah, absolutely. So usually what we do at the Green Bank Observatory is we have, you know, thousands of visitors come, you know, take tours of the sites every year. You know, they want to come see the telescopes. They want to, you know, meet people. They want to go to our gift shop. Shout out to our online gift shop, by the way. But we obviously can't do that right now. So we have a virtual option. So once a week, on either Friday or Saturday, we have me or one of the tour guides will give a virtual tour. These are free to sign up for, and we'll just bring you to all of the different telescopes that are on site, tell you about some of the projects that we're doing, some of the new projects that we're just getting started on, like CHIME, which is very exciting, Canadian hydrogen intensity mapping experiment that we just got some funding for. I don't want to, this is a Mars thing, but we're doing a whole bunch of fun, cool stuff that we get to talk about in these sort of virtual tours that you can sign up for on our website. In addition to that, again, usually we would have, you know, field trips and overnight trips for students, classrooms, scout troops, you know, camps, all sorts of different educational sort of activities that we are not able to do anymore. You know, we're not allowed to have people staying overnight anymore. So we're also moving those programs over to the virtual space. So if you have a classroom or a club or an organization that you want to do a tour with, if you want to look at some radio data, if you want to use one of our telescopes, we have all of those sort of activities and programs online now that you can request one for free, again, on our virtual visits page on the website. It's been a really fun sort of way to meet a whole bunch of new people that, you know, wouldn't be able to come to Green Bank, West Virginia in person. But, you know, I've got to meet people from California and Georgia and, you know, India have been able to come and sort of learn a little bit about the Green Bank Observatory, which they might not have when we were just doing on-site stuff. So again, if you're interested in any of those programs, they're available on our website. If you're just sort of like a member of the public, you can go to our events page and sign up for a virtual tour. If you have a scout group or a ham radio club or a classroom that you want to do a virtual tour with, we've got a virtual visits page under education on our website.
Yeah, and in addition to all of that, West Virginia Spot is visiting any organization or classroom or club. Also, these presentations are free. And if you are in West Virginia and you have a group of kids that might want to learn about Mars or the International Space Station or climate change and how it'll affect West Virginia, you can go to westvirginiaspot.org and check out all of our activities that we have posted online as well.
That's awesome. Thank you. I see that Will's sister, Jana, is watching, and I know she's got a little baby there who's probably excited to see Uncle Will on screen.
Hey, Jana.
So awesome. So glad that all of you are joining us and checking things out. So again, as I mentioned, you know, we have Will and Amber above us working here, getting ready for the communications, talking to JPL. And I think we might cut to some of our videos that I've prepared. And I'll let Lucy and Sophie continue to hang out and chat with us if they want. If they need to pop out, that's totally fine. Hopefully we are just counting down within the hour. We will actually be having touchdown. So again, if you're tuned in, we're going to show a couple of videos. I'm going to pop back in and out and say, hey, we may even go to NASA's live stream and see what they're doing. So again, we will be back on live here, but we're just going to cut to a few videos.
Sounds great. I'm excited to watch them.
Hi friends, my name is Lucy. I'm an educator at the Green Bank Observatory, and today we're going to talk a little bit about some of the fun things you'll be able to see in the night sky in January. And before we get to that, I want to start out this video with a bit of a question. And that question is something that I was wondering, I've been wondering this for a while, and I never got around to searching for it on the internet, but the question is, why do we have 7 days in a week? Right? That's like a completely made up number. It would make sense if there were 10 days in the week because I have 10 fingers, or if there were 5 days in the week because 5 is a nice sort of round number, or if there were 12 because 12 is divisible by a lot of different numbers, but 7 just seems like a random choice. But it turns out that it wasn't. There are 7 days in the week because there are 7 planets. Okay, that's the end of the video. That's all. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, back before the ancient, back before we had some really any understanding of what the solar system was, what the different objects in our solar system do, what orbits what is close, what's far away. There were 7 objects that moved around pretty randomly in the sky. And those were called planets. So we have, you know, Mercury, Venus, Mars, this makes sense, Jupiter and Saturn. You can't see Uranus or Neptune or even Pluto with your naked eye. So those wouldn't be discovered until after the telescope was invented. But then we had 2 more. We had the sun and the moon, and those were the 7 planets. And it turns out that each of the 7 days of the week were named after one of these classic planets, these classical planets. Sunday was obviously named after the sun, right? Monday comes from the word moon, so it's Moon Day or Monday. And then we get a little bit trickier, right? So Mars and Tuesday don't sound anything alike. However, if you speak a language that comes from Latin, which was what the Romans spoke, for example, Italian, you might call Tuesday something different. In Italian, Mars is called Martide or Martidi. So these sort of languages that come from the Roman language, Latin, name their Mars Day after Mars, the Roman god of war. However, English comes a little bit from Latin, but it comes from other places as well. It comes from other more Germanic languages, language around Germany. So the Germanic people, which includes like the Norse and the people in Germany, the people in like the Slovakia region, all of those people had their own gods before sort of the Roman gods came and they got smushed together. So the Roman god for war, Mars, sort of got tied in with the Germanic or the Norse god of war named Tyr, or Tu, depending on what language you speak. So we got Tuesday. comes from Toyer or two. Like, this sort of makes sense, right? It would make sense for ancient people to want their days on Earth to mirror what's going on in heaven. So it sort of makes sense that there would be 7 days in a week. However, this still doesn't really make sense to me. Venus makes sense because it's the brightest and most beautiful, and Venus is the goddess of love and beauty. And the other planet that makes sense as to why it was chosen, why it was named after that god, is Mars. So Mars is bright red. If you get to sort of a low light pollution area and you can see Mars, it is like bright orange red. It is beautiful to look at. And all the other stars and planets are sort of like a whitish color. Some of them might be a little blue, some of them might be a little yellow. Betelgeuse in the constellation Orion, that star is a pretty distinct orange, but Mars outshines them all. It's a weird bright red, and it sort of stands out. So it would make sense that the ancient Babylonians who were assigning these planets to different gods would look at that bright red planet in the sky and say, oh, that looks like blood, that must be the god of war. However, Mars isn't red because the god of war decided that it was going to be red. It's red because of the amount of iron oxide on its surface. You might know iron oxide as rust. Rust is sort of a red color. Mars has a whole lot of rust on it, so it's a red color. Now, Mars is also one of the closest planets to us, depending on everybody's location in the solar system at the time. But if you're just lining everybody up in a row, Mars is the closest planet to us, which means that we get to study it a lot. We've never had a person go land on Mars, but there are a lot of robots. There's a lot of landers and rovers on Mars, poking at things, doing experiments, trying to figure out as much as possible about Mars. And even before we had robots descend to Mars, people were trying to figure out what's going on with this planet because it's fascinating. It's a bright red color. It's very close to us. What's going on with this planet? So in 1877, a guy named Giovanni Schiaparelli pointed one of his telescopes at Mars and stared at it for a long while, and he discovered that there are lines on it. There are these weird sort of canals. Let me show you a picture of them, running from the North Pole and the South Pole of Mars to the center. There are these weird sort of spider-like canals. Canali is what he called them. He published this, and more people looked at it, and they were like, oh my God, yeah, there are these weird sort of rivers in Mars. Another person who was really influential in this canal sort of idea that was going on around was a guy named Percival Lowell. He wrote 3 books about these canali, these sort of weird we had no idea what these were. So Percival just had a bunch of theories about what these could be, but one of the main ones were that these were irrigation systems for a Martian civilization to bring liquid water from the polar caps of Mars to the center where it was warm enough to live. So for years and decades, it was believed that there were these rivers of water that had been dug by an intelligent Martian civilization. I don't know if you know a lot about Mars. I certainly don't, but I know that there aren't Martians that are just digging tunnels everywhere. They're not just digging rivers. What this turned out to be was just an optical illusion, really. When you have a really sort of bad telescope, they didn't have great telescopes at the time. They didn't have very large telescopes. And you look through it and you see a whole bunch of dots and you stare at it for too long, just like an optical illusion, those dots are going to start to get fuzzier and form lines. And this was proven to be just an optical illusion in 1903. However, people were still arguing that these rivers on the surface of Mars
Okay, everybody, just popping back in here. I heard from Will that we are tracking Mars. So I'm going to get ready to cut over to NASA's live stream for a minute. And I see that a lot of folks have just joined us. I'm going to catch you up on where we are real quick. So there's a handful of us here from the Green Bank Observatory. We've been chatting about all sorts of things. Got a couple members of the education team here, Lucy and Sophie. They were talking about all the good programs that they lead. We also have our Green Bank control room where we have Amber Bonsall, who's a data analyst, and Will Armentrout, who is a scientist, and they're working live with NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory out there on the West Coast in Southern California. They're controlling the Green Bank telescope, the big telescope that you see behind me. That is going to be used to help communications from NASA's Mars Perseverance rover as it lands, immediately after it lands on Mars. So we will not be showing this in real time, NASA will. Again, Will just told me that NASA has tracked Mars. So I'm gonna go ahead and pull up their live stream so we can take a look at that. If you notice any issues with video quality as I'm resharing their broadcast, you can go directly to NASA TV and you can tune in there yourself. But you're gonna see us checking in and out. Hopefully touchdown is gonna be close to the end of the hour, around 3:50 or so they're estimating. So we'll pop back and forth. We'll be with NASA for their live broadcast. And then as soon as that's done, we'll come back over to Will and Amber and hear from them in our Green Bank control room.
Sounds good. I'm excited.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just driving here, driving the bus, and I'm gonna pull up NASA TV.
Oh, Will's waving at us. You gotta wave back.
Hey, Will. Well, you're waving.
Great job. He's typing a lot, and that looks very important. So.
The stars for little scientists and engineers. Thank you so much for joining us here today, Lori.
It's my pleasure. Thanks.
Back to you, Raquel, for another mission update.
Thanks, Marina. The cruise team Perseverance controls the rover on its way to Mars. And moments ago, they handed it over to the landing team, and it looks like team leaders in mission control are about to talk to both teams. So let's listen in.
The CBM change, as I mentioned previously, is to the EDL reserve two-way non-coherent route.
Activity.
Copy flight.
EDL phase, go ahead.
Like to see pep talk, I guess, to the team. All right. You know, I'm terrible at pep talks. I think my reputation precedes me there. And look, I know this hasn't been easy, right? I'm not even sure we've even been all in the same room at the same time. I mean, I'm staring at folks across the internet as well. Even now, right? Only. Yeah. Voice check. Okay. I do want to just extend my heartfelt appreciation from the EDL team to the launch cruise team. You've done everything we've asked for, right? I mean, you've battled anomalies, you've dealt with Cepheids, you've done everything. You delivered a healthy spacecraft to the place that we want to go. And she's right on target, right? We did the last maneuver literally 2 months ago, right? This is pretty incredible, in my opinion. And she's armed with the right information to help us land. You know, doing the parameter update last night, we're ready to roll. You've done everything right. And you've put up with us too, right? You've put up with our eccentricities, and the things we like to do in EDL land. So I very much appreciate that. So you all should sleep in on Friday, since you guys have earned it. Thanks for literally and figuratively putting us in the right position to succeed. And let's land on Mars together.
Copy EDL phase. And as flight director, I also would like to thank the whole team, cruise ops, EDL ops, EDL team, and the surface ops as well. It's been an amazing journey. I think we all know that. And it's been my honor and pleasure to work with you all side by side. And your tireless efforts and endurance in the face of our challenges has been truly, truly inspiring. So kudos to you. Mission, would you like to say something?
Yeah, just echoing the same words that Al and Magdi have mentioned. You guys have overcome great obstacles in the last 6.5 months, and it started with an earthquake in this room on launch day at L-20 minutes. So I can't be more proud than all of the achievements that you guys have pulled off in the last 6.5 months. Whatever happens in the next hour and a half, you can be proud of the achievements that you've accomplished so far. I look forward to seeing you on the other side, and I only wish that the rest of our team could be sharing this moment with us. This is a very unusual event. This room is only half as full as it would be if we weren't in this pandemic. So missing everybody on the team who's not with us here today. And go EDL.
Welcome to the EDL family.
And with that, Godspeed Perseverance. All right, activity. Go ahead and continue the report.
Sure thing, Flight. We've since completed the EDL start anchor. As I was mentioning, we changed our CBM row to EDL reserve two-way non-coherent. That row reinforces our CBM windows disabled, keeps our packetization on, it turns off our ranging and switches to the auxiliary oscillator. We have also started our real-time data products and reinforced Medley on. At this time,
Now, we just heard Perseverance team leaders thank the cruise team for their work in guiding the rover to Mars. Now, did you know the rover name and Mars helicopter name came from students? Well, a couple weeks ago.
Hey, everybody. Just to give you some context on what we're doing right now, we're going to be cutting back and forth to the live stream from NASA. As you can see here, I can see us all popping up here. I'm just checking my Facebook live stream. You can see we have our scientist, Dr. Will Armentrout, our data analyst, Amber Bonsall, live from our Green Bank control room on the campus of the Green Bank Observatory in Green Bank, West Virginia. How many more times can I say Green Bank? We have Mars in our sights. That's what they were just reporting on there from NASA's live stream. We will be giving you an overview of what's happening in our control room, but we will be cutting back and forth to NASA's official live stream to show you the action. And then after the landing, we'll be coming back to our control room so you can see Will and Amber, and you can hear more about their experience with their work on this project. Oh, and I also have Lucy here, who's an educator. Lucy, if you just tuned in, you might have not seen her earlier. She and I are wearing red to celebrate the red planet, and her rabbits are even in on the fun with their little red hats.
They're not very happy about it, but they haven't. He heard me talking about him. Yes, we are all wearing matching red hats because we're all very excited, and I'm not allowed to have a real landing party. So it's me and my bunnies.
Yeah, that's all right. Yeah, I know it's such a weird time, 2020, 2021. A lot of us at Green Bank, we're a very close-knit staff. We haven't been able to see each other in real life. So I must say I've been having loads of fun this afternoon, visiting with friends and colleagues as we talk about this mission and this work. If you tuned in maybe about 10 minutes ago now, we were sharing a video that Lucy made in January. She makes this night sky video series where each month she focuses on a different aspect that you can see in the night sky. And in January, she was talking about all the planets, but she was also talking about Mars. Do you want to tell us a little bit more about those videos that you make and what you share?
Yeah, absolutely. So every month we do What's Up in the Night Sky video where we can figure out what's going in the optical sky. So things that you guys can see with your eyeballs that you don't need a radio telescope to look at. And I am going to drop a little bit of a spoiler right here for the February video. We are going to be doing a constellation in the winter sky that starts with the letter O. So if you guys want to try to figure that one out, you can. If you just want to wait until next week until that video drops, you can do that as well. But they're really great for if you're just starting out stargazing, if you're trying to figure out sort of what's going on in the sky and you're not really sure what to look at or, you know, how to do any sort of stargazing, what you're looking at. There are some pretty good videos in my opinion. I work very hard on them. You will see me have many different haircuts throughout them, but that's just all part of the experience.
Yeah. Thank you to everyone who's tuning in. This is awesome. We've been on live here since 1:30. Mike, our colleague, said, hey, Mike, if you're still
Hi, Mike.
Will's friend Tina says hi. I know that we had different 4-H clubs and astronomy clubs and families reach out and say, hey, so we're so glad that you're joining us this afternoon. And I'm sure you're also tuned in to NASA's broadcast, which, as I mentioned, we will be cutting back and forth to NASA TV. I will actually be turning off the control room, the Green Bank control room here in just a couple of minutes. Actually, when we next cut to NASA TV, if we cut back over to myself and if Lucy's still here, you won't see them right away because again, NASA will be breaking this exciting news directly when the rover touches down. I'll just mention again, something I brought up quite a few times this afternoon is for those folks out there who've never heard of the Green Bank Observatory, never heard of the Green Bank Telescope, didn't know such a thing, one of the largest man-made objects in the world exists in the mountains of Appalachia in West Virginia. It's so cool that we get to work with such a well-known institution as NASA, and then people get to learn more about all their different partners who might be kind of hidden away across the country. And for you to learn that we're working with NASA a lot. We're working with big corporations, universities, national and international facilities and scientists across the United States and all around the world. So we love what we do. We're so excited, and it's awesome when so many of you get to tune in and see us talk about this and maybe learn more or get involved. Maybe you're a student and you want to take a virtual field trip with Lucy, or maybe you're a family and you want to take a virtual tour with Lucy or some of our education team. It's just such a great opportunity to talk about everything we do.
And I do want to point out that we don't just work with these giant sort of like NASA or universities. We also work with high school students. If you're a high school student and you're interested in getting involved in the Green Bank Observatory, we have something called the Pulsar Search Collaboratory, where you and your teacher and some of your other friends can actually use Green Bank Observatory data from the world's largest fully steerable radio telescope to look for pulsars, to discover pulsars that nobody has ever seen before or detected before. So you can learn and get involved just by yourself or just with your community. You don't have to, get 7 different degrees, join NASA, to work with the Green Bank Observatory.
Yeah, I'm so glad you brought that up because that's something that Amber mentioned earlier. Amber Bonsall, who's the redhead up there in the Green Bank control room, she mentioned, she started off as a telescope operator controlling the GBT.
Keep waving. Gotta wave back. Everyone has to wave to their phones to make sure they know that we're.
She started off as a telescope control operator and then went into being a data analyst, and she has an undergraduate degree. And then Will has a PhD, Dr. Will Armentrout. So it's just so cool that we have so many people, so many different backgrounds that come together to make these things happen.
Absolutely.
Oh, I want to say hey to a couple of things I see in the comments.
All right.
Rachel, hey, our friend Rachel, who we haven't seen in so long. Martha, thanks for awesome, and she just ordered some merch. So that sounds like a
Very
great
good.
Green Bank
We love the Green Bank Observatory merch.
Yeah.
We have a whole bunch of it. If you go to the Green Bank Observatory website, go to that shop button. We've got a whole bunch of stuff there. Do we still have that that Valentine's sale going on?
Yes, we do. Yes. So the Valentine's sale, we have 20% off until February 21st, and the code is Valentine 2021, Valentine 2021. So go over to the Green Bank Observatory gift shop, like Lucy said, go to greenbankobservatory.org, go to shop. There's awesome hats and t-shirts and books, but it was fun. It's such a cool book about Green Bank history. I know we refer to it all the time. It's a really important book for us. Stickers, I'm a sticker person. If you ever see a little black SUV driving around with GBO stickers on it, that's me. So lots of cool stuff that you can pick up there. And I think we're getting down to the time where I need to turn off the cameras for our Green Bank control.
I'm getting nervous.
No spoilers for all our Doctor Who fans. So I'm gonna go ahead and bye Amanda, bye Will until we get on the other side.
Amber.
Stop there. Yeah, bye Amber, bye Will. Stop.
You called her Amanda.
Oh. Well, we've got Amanda behind the scenes here answering, liking a lot of your comments on
Gotta stay. We don't want to say goodbye to her just yet.
No, don't leave Amanda. I'm so glad. Oh, hey, Chris Clark. He said hey.
Hi, Chris.
He is head of Green Bank IT. He has an awesome Twitter. If you like optical astronomy, astrophotography, look up Chris Clark on Twitter. A lot of times we reshare really cool images that he takes. Green Bank and the Green Bank telescope, you know, we do radio astronomy, but being located in a very rural mountainous area, we've got awesome dark skies. Watoga State Park is pretty close by. They're going to be dark sky park. They're getting a special dark sky designation. So the area is actually really great for doing some optical astronomy as well.
Yes, I will say when I moved here from the city, like I couldn't drive too much at night because they're just absolutely like you can like look up and see the Milky Way, and it made me a little dizzy when I first got here because the skies at night in Green Bank are absolutely gorgeous. So if you ever want to do some stuff, do some like stargazing, get a good look at the Milky Way, this is a great place to do it.
Yeah, I love going up on Cheat Mountain, which is Deer Creek Valley that the Green Bank telescope is in. Gone there camping with my husband a lot. It's so cool. We went up there and we saw Neowise when that was happening.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I went to I had to go to another mountain in Virginia to see it. Shenandoah Mountain. I drove up to Shenandoah Mountain. It took me like 2.5 hours to get there. And I finally got there. Like I knew where it was. I reached down and I had forgotten my binoculars. I was so mad. So I drove like 2.5 hours back. I got to like see it like a little bit and I was like really mad. And then like, I was like, man, I drove like so far. And then as I'm pulling into the parking lot where I live in Green Bank, it was just in the sky. Like I didn't even have to drive. It was absolutely beautiful, but I didn't get to see it with my binoculars eventually.
Yeah, I know that there was, we've mentioned a couple of times how close-knit Green Bank is, how much the team likes each other. A lot of folks live right there in Green Bank, and I have heard that, you know, people were sending each other messages and emails, go outside on Hannah Run, and you can see it from the sky. So that was a pretty cool thing. And one of our scientist wives, G, she took an awesome photo of the GBT with Neowise, really cool night photography. So you can find that in our Facebook photos or
on Instagram. I think it's on Instagram.
On our Instagram, yeah. I actually use that photo all the time because it's such a good photo.
It's absolutely beautiful.
Yeah. In case you just tuned in and you're like, who is talking and why? Well, we had to turn off the video from our Green Bank control room because no spoilers. we're going to be cutting over to NASA's live stream as well, so they can break the news when the Mars rover touches down. Prior to this, if you've been watching off and on all afternoon, you would have seen Dr. Will Armentrout and Amber Bonsall, who's a data analyst, working away in our control room, controlling the Green Bank telescope, which you can see here over my shoulder. Not a live photo. You can actually download this Zoom background. We have all sorts of free virtual swag. If you go to our website, you can get your own Green Bank Zoom background or laptop or mobile or tablet background. Anyways, using Zoom meetings or just have because it looks cool. They've been controlling the GBT from Green Bank. They've had a direct line to NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory, talking to all the folks over there. Somebody shared in the comments that JPL gave us a shout out. So thanks.
Good.
I know.
JPL back.
Yeah, I've been emailing a lot of their PR staff all this week. They've been working with us on our communications and what we're pulling out. So it's so much fun getting to work with these guys, getting to do what we do.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I see Julia says they have family in Durban. They've been to the observatory a number of times. So hey, Julia and family.
Yes.
The Cameron clan is watching Lucy.
Oh, good.
So, and again, this is not about us. It's about the live stream. So I think we're looking at just about 20 minutes left, hopefully until it touches down. So I'm going to go ahead and switch over to the NASA live stream.
Please do.
You might see me pop back in here just to say hey and explain what's happening in case you wonder why you don't see any Green Bank staff. But if you are watching, do stay tuned in because we will go back to Will and Amber after the rover lands. And as I mentioned, I'm sharing NASA's broadcast. So if you notice any loss in video quality, you can go to NASA TV yourself and you can see the same live broadcast, the same live stream right there. So Lucy, thanks for hanging out with me all afternoon. And
no problem. I don't have anyone else to hang out with, so
I know we have to have our
have a watch party with my rabbits.
Yeah.
And my balloons.
Very cool. I love your festive decorations are perfect.
Thank you. Like I said, I love a theme, so we're Mars themed today.
Yep. Very cool. All right. Well, oh hey, from Sutton, West Virginia, that just popped in. So thank you to everyone who turned in. Dennis, yeah, I think I said, did I say hey to Dennis?
Maybe.
Dennis Egan.
Say hi to Dennis again.
Yeah, hey Egan family. So glad you're there. Thanks for saying good job. We miss being around you, seeing you guys. And we will be going over to the NASA live stream. So
absolutely.
Or from us on the other side. Marina was able to catch up with them.
To make this thing succeed, but if we do fail, if something bad happens today, I can tell you we're going to learn it. We'll have the data that tell us what happened. We'll know why. We'll figure it out, and if we are allowed, we will pick ourselves up and get us back on the horse. And if Congress and NASA allow, we will try again. As we always do, we will learn from our mistakes.
And what are the possible scenarios we could be looking at today?
Well, there's things like one of the key stressful elements for all of us is parachute inflation. But just even separating from the cruise stage is a pretty major event. Lots of devices have to work properly. Certainly, the heat shield separation, getting the descent engine started. There's no less than 16 rocket motors that have to work. 8 to control during entry, another 8 to control it during landing. I said it's a lot of stuff, and it all has to work. And guess what? We haven't done this before with this vehicle ever. This is its first attempt to actually land. We can't try this on Earth. we can't do, we don't have test pilots to try it out on this planet before the big show. So this vehicle is doing it for the first time. We've done the best testing we can do in bits and pieces, but you know, it's as best as we could do. But I think our team is up to it. This team is the best. It's a diverse, intelligent, amazing group of people. People from all over the world who worked on this, not just here in California, but all over NASA, contributors from aerospace, universities, countries around the world. It is just an incredible, remarkable engineering achievement, and I am just so proud of this team.
Thanks, Rob. Now, let's listen back into mission control.
Right, we're about 14 minutes from entry interface. The vehicle is currently preparing the heat rejection system that has kept the thermal system cool inside the air shell for about the last 6 months. This will allow the spacecraft to more easily cut the line in upcoming cruise stage separation, which is under 4 minutes now.
We have now enabled the rover pyro bus.
That's the pyrotechnic system that's
We're
going to
powering off the cruise stage devices.
And these are the things in the cruise stage that we no longer need. With the pyrotechnic system working, we can explode the devices
The
necessary
vehicle
to
is
separate.
preparing for the upcoming cruise stage separation in about 3 minutes 15 seconds by powering off all the devices on the cruise stage in order that they can be safe once the cruise stage is jettisoned.
Okay, hey everybody, I just popped back on here to give you some context to what you're seeing. So we are broadcasting live from NASA. We are going back and forth between the Green Bank Observatory and NASA. If you have any video lag or problems, you can tune directly into NASA at NASA TV. We were previously showing the Green Bank control room, but for NASA, we turned that live feed off. No spoilers. NASA will be breaking all the news as it happens. The Green Bank Observatory is supporting communications from the rover. So we are using the Green Bank telescope behind us here to receive those communications. We have staff on site who are working directly with NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory out there on the West Coast. So we will be returning to our Green Bank control room as soon as the rover touches down. So when we return to the NASA live stream, what we'll be seeing is the rover going through its entire EDL process so that it can prepare itself for this landing. So everybody knock on wood, fingers crossed, everything goes smoothly. And I also have my colleague Lucy here, who she joined us for our watch party today.
Yes, I am currently blowing up balloons.
Yeah, we have our little red party hats on with the rabbits, balloons, we're all wearing red. So we'll return to NASA's live stream here in just a moment. Oh, hey to, oh wow, we've got Jim and Ashlyn watching from Oakland, Maryland. We've got Madge, who's another Green Bank colleague. Hey, Madge.
Madge, say hi to Mike for me. We can also say hi to Paul, but the dog is more important, in my opinion.
We've got Ben, who is our AmeriCorps staff person in education.
Ben.
Watching. Hey, Ben. So again, thank you all for joining us. Again, we're going to cut back over to NASA's live stream, and then when they're done, we'll be returning to the Green Bank control room.
All right.
So and get this feed refreshed here and share the screen.
Been very reliable.
We are firing our first pyros to vent the HRS liquid and gas.
This has been the coolant that's kept their vehicle from getting too hot on the way to Mars. We have to vent it into space. And so this is one of the first major events that take place as part of entry, descent, landing.
The HRS vent anchor is complete.
Yes.
We will see the next anchor in approximately 3 minutes.
Okay.
We are currently 12.5 minutes from entry interface. We are coming upon cruise stage separation in 2 minutes and 20 seconds.
What's happening now, Rob?
Okay, well, we're just waiting. The rover is completely in charge. It's doing all the things we've taught it how to do. It's all built into the software. We've tested it over and over and over again. This team has spent 24 hours a day, 7 days a week testing this thing for years. And so this is really the culmination of all that work. So this vehicle is getting ready to push that cruise stage away. Once it gets pushed away, the entry system with the rover inside, with the rover still in charge, is going to get ready to take the vehicle, turn it to the right orientation, and aim it to Mars, and prepare for entering the atmosphere. This won't be long. Be prepared for this event.
We're about 1.5 minutes from cruise stage separation, about 11 minutes, 20 seconds from entry interface.
Okay, so it's about 10 minutes from cruise stage separation till entering the top of the atmosphere. From then on and out, things happen
We are switching
fast.
to the MFSK tones. Telemetry will have stopped.
Telecom is confirming that the spacecraft has switched to broadcasting tones. These tones are received directly from Perseverance, but have very limited information content. We won't receive real-time information until about 9-10 minutes from now, once the Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter starts relaying information from Perseverance. We are under 1 minute from cruise stage separation, about 10.5 minutes from entry interface.
It's getting exciting. I have to admit, I am quite anxious, but very hopeful that this machine is going to do what we asked it to do.
We are seeing the heartbeat tones.
Okay, that means that there's no more ones and zeros coming. It's just the vehicle telling us it's still alive.
We're continuing to receive tones from Perseverance, standing by for cruise stage separation.
Okay, hey everybody, again, just popping in here to let you know what's happening. Green Bank Observatory, we are live streaming NASA's sharing of where the rover is at. We have a control room also set up at the Green Bank Observatory. We had to turn our cameras off for that for now. No spoilers. We're taking live from NASA's feed. After Perseverance lands, we'll cut back over to our Green Bank Observatory control room. We'll talk to the folks who are working there. If you have any problems with the video streaming or lag time, you can go directly to NASA TV and watch that there. We have so many folks who are also popping on to say, hey, this has been so much fun this afternoon. So yes, Paul, we didn't mean to leave you out when we talked to Madge and the dog. Hey, Rhonda and Bob from Newark, Ohio. Hey, I'm an Ohioan. Let's see. Cool. Yeah, I got another call out about Green Bank at JPL. Thanks, guys. We're so happy to be working with you. And also, we'd love for you, if you're watching our feed too, go ahead and take a selfie of yourself with the feed and post it in the comments. That would be so much fun. The staff, we love seeing those things. So if you want to get one with the control room, just stay tuned. After Perseverance touches down, we'll cut back from NASA's live stream to ours so we can talk to Will and Amber in our control room. And we didn't share as many of our pre-recorded videos as we planned during this because we talked a lot more with our staff. But we have interviews with several of our scientists, education folks. We talked to someone from another NASA facility in West Virginia, the NASA IB&B facility, so you can hear that interview. Just go to the tab section or the video section tab on Facebook. You can see those there. We also have a lot of those on our Green Bank Observatory YouTube channel. So gonna go back over to NASA's live stream.
And streaming it to Earth in near real time. There are a few expected short outages, such as when we have a plasma blackout or when we enter the peak heating phase. Aside from these outages caused by the plasma blackout, antenna switching, or high dynamic events, spacecraft events, we should have telemetry until about 90 seconds after landing. A plasma blackout is when the signal from Perseverance isn't strong enough to make it through the superheated, super fast air flowing around the spacecraft all the way down to Earth. Once the temperature drops below that peak heating, we do reacquire the signal from Perseverance. We are currently about 4.5 minutes from entry interface. Perseverance continues to report heartbeat tones, indicating everything is nominal.
Okay, what we're looking for now is Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter should be in view soon of our vehicle and be able to listen to ones and zeros coming from a separate radio that's really designed to talk between spacecraft.
Camera reports the electro radio is powered on, ready to receive signals from the lander.
Okay, MRO is ready and able and waiting for to hear from our rover.
Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter has reported that it's ready to receive the signals from Perseverance. It should be in a few minutes here. We're just
Flight Local 1
from entry interface.
We don't need these ones and zeros, as Swati said, but to land safely, but we really need it for our own health and well-being today to keep our nerves under control. But
around this time, a second spacecraft, MAVEN, should begin picking up telemetry from Perseverance and will continue to record that telemetry until several minutes post-landing. We won't get that data for several hours after landing as it's being recorded and then will be forwarded to Earth later. We are continuing to receive heartbeat tones, indicating that everything is nominal. We're currently at about 3 minutes until entry interface.
Okay. Very soon we'll be getting ones and zeros, I hope, from our radio on the rover.
Okay, everybody, thank you so much for all the comments that keep rolling in. I'm just coming back from the live stream we're sharing from NASA, but we have so many fun friends who are signing on here. So I see that Carla and Dina are chatting. Let's see, Lisa is watching from Virginia. Let's see, Cindy was excited that we mentioned somebody. It must have been Will or Amber, who are currently in the Green Bank Telescope control room. We can't share that feed live right now. We'll be sharing it immediately after the rover lands. We have to go straight to NASA's live feed as the action is happening. We have lots of folks who are saying they're so excited that we're part of this historic event. So are we. Again, if you just tuned in now, we've said many times that we're so excited whenever the Green Bank Telescope and the work of our scientists and staff gets highlighted, because we're part of a bigger project with someone like NASA, who so many folks know and recognize the name. Green Bank works with a lot of, everyone from students, from grade schoolers to high schoolers to national and international research facilities and scientists around the world. So it's just great when there's a big spotlight like this put on our work and we get to share it with everyone. Oh, hello from Portland. Oh, Mike is saying, hey, Natasha, that's cool. Lori says, hey, from just on the other side of the mountain in Elkins. A lot of our staff go grocery shopping in Elkins. So yep, we know that well. All sorts of, oh, Natasha, former Green Bank tour guides on. That's who Mike was saying hey to. So Victoria says Green Bank is a fabulous place. Janelle says, hey, Will. So again, thank you all to everyone who's saying hello and popping on. I will be cutting back over to NASA's live stream, and then we'll probably be sticking with them through the entire entry, descent, landing, see all that action. But do stay tuned to our feed as well, because we'll be going back to Will and Amanda in our control room at Green Bank, hear more about how things went and how they feel.
It's to transmit heartbeat tones, indicating everything is nominal.
So the tones can tell us whether something is bad or not is happening. So far the heartbeat is doing well. So the vehicle thinks it's in good shape to land, which is a great sign.
We're just under 2 minutes from entry interface. As it gets closer to Mars, Perseverance is actually being pulled in by gravity and accelerating. By the time Perseverance reaches entry interface point, she should be going just under 5.4 kilometers per second. We're at about 90 seconds from entry interface and standing by for Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter to pick up the telemetry. We are 1 minute from entry interface.
MROs are in receive mode.
We have confirmation that the Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter is now relaying data from Perseverance. We're about 30 seconds from entry interface. Perseverance is going about 5.2 kilometers per second and is about 190 kilometers altitude above the surface of Mars.
Confirm UHF data flow.
About seconds from entry interface. 5.3 kilometers per second and an altitude of about 150 kilometers from the surface of Mars.
Entry.
We have confirmation of entry interface. Perseverance is currently going 5.3 kilometers per second at an altitude of about 120 kilometers from the surface of Mars. The spacecraft is now waiting until it begins feeling the atmosphere of Mars slow it down. Once there is enough atmosphere, it will start controlling its path to the landing target. Navigation is also confirming that we can see a little bit of that slowdown of the atmosphere on the Perseverance entry capsule. Our current velocity is about 5.36 kilometers per second and an altitude of about 67 kilometers from the surface.
We are probably seeing MRO plasma blackout at this point.
The vehicle should be doing its turns right now.
MRO has lost lock.
Perseverance. We have indications that Perseverance is now performing bank reversals in the atmosphere. These are the steps in order to control its distance to the landing target. Perseverance has just passed through the point of maximum deceleration and has indicated that it felt approximately 10 Earth Gs of deceleration.
MRO has lock again.
Yes, 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 yes.
We saw a small outage of the UHF telemetry from Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter during that peak heating phase, likely caused by the plasma blackout. Perseverance is still continuing to perform bank reversals in the atmosphere to control its distance to the landing target. Perseverance is going about 1 kilometers per second at an altitude of about 16 kilometers from the surface of Mars. We have entered heading alignment, which means Perseverance is no longer trying to control the distance to Mars, but to the target on Mars, but instead is flying straight to the target.
parachute.
Our current velocity is about 550 meters per second at an altitude of about 15 kilometers from the surface.
MRO's reporting good telemetry log.
We are coming upon the straighten up. We are starting the straighten up and fly right maneuver, where the spacecraft will jettison the entry balance masses in preparation for parachute deploy and to roll over to give the radar a better look at the ground.
Yes, yes, yes.
The navigation has confirmed that the parachute has deployed, and we are seeing significant deceleration in the velocity. Our current velocity is 440 meters per second at an altitude of about 12 kilometers from the surface of Mars.
Yes.
Perseverance has now slowed to subsonic speeds, and the heat shield has been separated. This allows both the radar and the cameras to get their first look at the surface. Current velocity is 145 meters per second at an altitude of about 9.5 kilometers above the surface.
Yes, yes, yes.
Perseverance now has radar lock on the ground. Current velocity is about 100 meters per second, 6.6 kilometers above the surface of Mars. Perseverance is continuing to descend on the parachute. We are coming up on the initialization of terrain relative navigation and subsequently the priming of the landing engines. Our current velocity is about 90 meters per second at an altitude of 4.2 kilometers.
Almost there.
We have confirmation that the lander vision system has produced a valid solution and part of terrain relative navigation.
Yes.
We have priming of the landing engines. Current velocity is 83 meters per second at about 2.6 kilometers from the surface of Mars. We have confirmation that the back shell has separated. We are currently performing the divert maneuver. Current velocity is about 75 meters per second at an altitude of about a kilometer off the surface of Mars.
Here in Safety Bravo.
We have completed our terrain relative navigation. Current speed is about 30 meters per second, altitude of about 300 meters off the surface of Mars. We have started our constant velocity accordion, which means we are conducting the sky crane, about to conduct the sky crane maneuver.
We've lost direct to Earth tones.
As expected. As expected.
Sky crane maneuver has started. About 20 meters off the surface.
We're getting signals from MRO.
UHF is good.
Touchdown confirmed. Perseverance safely on the surface of Mars, ready to begin seeking the signs of past life. At this point, the descent stage has flown away to a safe distance. Perseverance is continuing to transmit direct through Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter to Earth.
Oh my God. Oh. Oh.
More reports they're still getting telemetry from the lander.
All right, all stations.
We got it.
Touchdown confirmed. We're going to wait for the images.
Wow.
This is so exciting. The team is beside themselves. It's so surreal. Stay tuned. We might get some pictures.
That'd be great.
So much.
Hey, everybody. We did it. I'm just waiting with bated breath for Amber and Will to be able to turn back on the cameras for the Green Bank control room so we can hear from them. I'm sure they're still busy and hard at work, but super duper excited. So we'll be going live to them at any minute. Thank you to so many people who tuned in. As you saw, we were just sharing the NASA live stream, which is at NASA TV, and we may go back over to them. Hopefully any second. Cool. All right. It's going to be just a couple minutes before Will and Amber are ready in the Green Bank control room, but I'm going to go ahead and catch us up on all the folks who were shouting out and sending well wishes to us in the live stream. We're so excited. If you've been joining us all afternoon, off and on, we're happy that you're here with us. So let me figure out where I left off. Oh my, there's so many of you. This is so cool. Okay. Let's see. Okay, I think I know where I am. All right, so Allegra said hello to Dr. Jesse Bublitz. He's one of our postdocs. She says hello from Silicon Valley. Oh yeah, Kelsey, who used to work in the Green Bank cafeteria, which is awesome. If you get to come on campus, you got to eat there. She's now up at Snowshoe, so she says that she's super excited to be tuning in. Alice says hello to nephew Will, so you should be thrilled. Ethan says so proud of everybody watching from Nashville. The last time he was at Green Bank, the telescope was just being brought online. Well, then you want to make sure you tune into our 20th anniversary workshop we're having coming up in April, Ethan. You might be real excited by that. NRAO old timer Jean says, hey, and best wishes to all. Let's see, Matthew's watching from South Charleston, West Virginia. He was at Green Bank when the InSight landed. Thank you, thank you. Cindy says, congratulations, so cool. Elizabeth from Buffalo Creek Memorial is watching from Man, West Virginia. So exciting, we have so many West Virginians watching. JT says, very cool, thanks to Green Bank for hosting this watch party, woohoo. Bang from Charlottesville says, hey. Oh, Mary Sue. Hi, Mary Sue. Miss you. She thinks it's very cool. Carrie says, thank you. Carla says, hey, Janet. Hey, Frank. One of our awesome longtime Green Bank scientists there, Frank. Let's see. F. Caperton says, yay, so glad the parachute deployed. I think we all are. Victoria, Rhonda, Dina, Kathy, Victoria, everybody's super excited. Oh, I see they're just turning the cameras back on here. So let me make sure that you all can see them. Yep, they're coming back on now. So this is the view from the Green Bank Observatory control room. It looks like Will and Amanda are coming over to chat with us. Woohoo! Wish we could be there jumping up and down just like everybody in NASA JPL was. So how are you doing?
Hello, thank you everyone for sticking with us. We had a successful landing and we were tracking tones from Perseverance as it went through the atmosphere. We were able to see shifts in the frequency in real time as the different maneuvers of Perseverance took place. So we saw whenever the heat shield was deployed, we saw when the parachute was deployed, and then a pretty steady line on our plot for when it was being lowered down onto the surface of Mars with that sky crane, which is still amazing to me to think about having that technology on Mars. So when it landed, we lost signal. We expected to lose signal just because of the topography of Mars. Mars is not a perfectly flat planet, right? There are mountains, craters. We're in fact landing in a crater. We landed in a crater. And so whenever we got onto the surface of that, we lost signal. And that was one of the indications of a successful landing.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's such a great summary. Well, how are you, how are you guys feeling? How was it like? Was it just pure adrenaline and like, did the minutes just fly by, or what was it? How was it like?
Because we're sitting there, we're watching it scroll down the screen, and it's like what that moment when it stops, you don't know. Like I could tell it kind of looked like what it did with Insight, but it's like when that you just have that moment when you see the signal stop, because as it changes like as it's changing velocities, you kind of there's this gap, and you're like, oh my god, what just happened? And then a second later you'll get more, and you're like, okay, and then somebody will say something, and you'll be like, oh my god, what happened? And it's all it was not quick at all.
Yeah, that's what were communications with JPL? I mean, was there a lot of back and forth? Did you guys have to troubleshoot anything, or did it go pretty smoothly as planned?
There was a lot of communication before we started tracking Mars. I mean, as we talked about a little bit ago, there's a lot that goes into this to make everything happen. And as the rest of the country knows, there's a lot of weather coming through up the East Coast right now. And so we had to make sure that that was not going to affect our observations, that everything was going to be operating safely with the telescope. And so there are a lot of people on site today who put in a lot of really good work to make this happen. And so we had constant communication with them, whether they were monitoring the status of the telescope. Big shout out to our operations division today. And then just we were sort of the mediators between Green Bank and NASA JPL. So once we went on target and started to track Mars, it was fairly smooth sailing from then on our end, but that's whenever everyone else starts to sweat because you really worry about that safe landing. And so getting those updates from JPL sort of helped us through it. But like Amber said, the minutes were long whenever we were tracking those tones.
And we could actually hear, because you had the NASA stream on, as Will and I were watching it, I pointed out, I think at one point I said that was the parachute, and then 5 minutes later, they set it on the screen. So we were seeing it a couple of minutes before, so that's why we had to be careful. I mean, I know you weren't watching, but just in general, making sure that we don't jump to a conclusion maybe, but yeah, we could see it happening a couple of minutes before you guys were hearing it, coming from the control room. That was pretty awesome.
There was some talk in the NASA stream too about tones. Those tones were what we were seeing. So we aren't seeing a data stream of images or anything that comes down from Perseverance. It is just emitting a constant tone at a very specific frequency. And we were looking for that along with the Effelsberg telescope in Germany. So NASA has a few different stations, all doing the same thing, all looking for a successful landing through those tones. And the next move will be sending more information, more detailed information from Perseverance up to some of the orbiters around Mars and then to Earth. So we'll get much more detailed information from that data later on.
Yep. Great. Well, I want to keep you guys, if you're okay to keep chatting. I was just going to read off a few more things that people were sharing in their messages. I just want to say that the telescope operator on duty, Brandon, just very modestly shared a thumbs up in the comments, which I think is adorable because we've had hundreds of people tuning in, commenting, and Brandon, who was also, like you said, there were a few folks on campus supporting this. It's just like, yay,
Yeah, we were in close communication with Brandon all day. So thank you very much.
Yeah, very cool. Well, yeah, Chris, our head of IT, said hooray. JT said awesome. Dennis, staff member, said excellent. Let's see, just scrolling. Billy said very cool. Teresa gave a thumbs up. Nathan said, yay. Rick from St. Albans, West Virginia says, hey. Mark, our colleague Mark said, wow, what an amazing and great day for everyone. Hey, Mark, very cool. Nathan said, thanks for putting on this awesome stream. I know it's been a lot of fun for all of us. We liked it. Nancy said, great work, exciting. We had a question about when we're going to reopen. We hope to do so in a limited outdoor capacity this summer. Let's see. Yeah, just lots more well wishes and all that. So thank you. So yeah, what else would you like to share about being in the control room or from there? Do you have more things you have to do right now and into the evening, or was this the big project for today?
This was a big project for today. We are still observing until 4:30, so we are still in communication with the Jet Propulsion Laboratory, and we'll be tracking Mars for another 20 minutes. That's 4:30 Eastern time. But for now, the big event was over, and I think we're going to go and celebrate individually like Lucy did all day.
Yeah, I know. I've still got Lucy around. She's been a fun companion for the day. She's going to share some tweets with us. She's our Twitter maven, so she's got some nice ones she's going to share. And again, we're going straight to NASA for the source. They mentioned before I signed off from their live broadcast that they may even have some images to share. We'll see. We got to watch that great animation they did simulating what the process was like, what was happening, but we'll see if they have anything else to share as well. So, Will, do you guys have anything else you want to say or stay on here or sign off? How do you feel?
I think we feel relieved. I feel relieved.
Yes,
What about you,
oh my
Em?
gosh, yeah. So one thing I'm actually pretty excited to see that we probably won't see for a little bit is that, and I keep talking about InSight because I mean, like I said, that was a big deal for me when that one landed. But it has a seismometer on it that's very, very sensitive. So InSight also definitely detected the sonic boom as it entered and definitely would have detected it when it landed. So eventually we'll get the data back from InSight too. And we'll be able to see the landing from its perspective there on Mars, which I also think is really cool.
Yeah, Amber mentioned the sonic boom. So the Perseverance was moving at faster than the speed of sound when it deployed its parachute, right? So imagine what a tough parachute that must have been. It included, I believe, Teflon and Kevlar as part of the fabric. So when it slowed down,
Yeah, it was like 10 Gs or something, I think
Yeah.
they were saying that it was going when it had to slow down.
InSight should have picked that up.
Wow, those are really awesome points that I myself wouldn't have necessarily been aware of. That is very, very cool. Let's see. Natasha says, well done, Will. Michelle says, so incredible. Great job, everybody. Christopher says, thanks for making the sky so exciting. Irene's watching from New Mexico. I don't want to say your name wrong. Let me see. Maybe you know, Will. Acacia or Akshaya says, awesome, Will.
Akshaya. Yeah.
Akshaya. Oh, that makes cool. Yeah, so she says, awesome. Christine, our colleague, says, nice job, everybody. Oh, my sister's watching. Hey, Jamie. Yeah, so let's see. So thank you, everybody, for all your awesome comments. And again, I mean, I guess we'll leave you to it. I can leave, if you have more work, you need to monitor your stations behind. Lucy's going to pop on here and share some news from Twitter. We can come back to you again before we sign off for the day, point people back over to NASA's live stream. Sound okay?
Thank you, Air 5.
Air 5. Thanks, everybody.
All right. Thank you very much. Move back.
All right. So Lucy, if you can hear, I'm going to go ahead and turn your camera on. And
hello.
Gotta highlight your screen again.
Very good. So first thing we have two images from the NASA lander that they have, from the rover that they have looked at or that they have posted. So let's take a look at those. So this is the first one. This is from like pointing forward, which is very exciting. This is the first picture. And then we've got the second picture from directly behind the rover. So the cameras are working great, which is very exciting.
Awesome.
I'm going to share those first before getting into, you've been mentioning some of the people that have been talking on Facebook. I wanted to sort of give some shout outs to some of the people who have been giving us mentions on Twitter in our Twitter mentions. We did get a tweet from one of our senators, Senator Capito, and then Senator Manchin, the other West Virginia senator, has apparently gave our director a call, which is very exciting. And then some other people, Elena says congratulations to JPL, Green Bank, and all the teams who got Perseverance down to the surface of Mars. Very exciting. Olivia Wilkins, who is always very active on radio astronomy Twitter, says, in case you were wondering whether I'm obsessed with at Green Bank Observatory, I just got texts from my brother and from my advisor about the Green Bank telescope having carrier lock on the Perseverance, hashtag countdown to Mars. So we got a bit of a fan club, which is nice. We have thanks Green Bank Observatory from Lynn Carter, Go Green Bank Observatory from Anna, at Green Bank Observatory getting lots of love during the Perseverance descent from Kristen. A person who doesn't have their name in their handle says that they're proud of us, which I'm proud of us as well. Brent Scott says that there's always a West Virginia connection. Congratulations to NASA Perseverance. Again, West Virginia has so many great science, technology, engineering opportunities, groups, all sorts of things. And then from Dr. Nicole, we have congratulations to the one and only Green Bank Observatory for our work on the Perseverance lander. So we are, getting a lot of, love on Twitter, which I always love getting love on Twitter. But
I know you do. Yeah.
It really increases my serotonin just a little bit. But yeah, so how are you feeling, Jill? You've been, hosting this for the past 3 hours.
Oh, it's been fun. It's gone by a lot faster than I thought. It's awesome to be on camera representing the observatory. It's been a little while since I've been on camera. I used to be on camera a lot in former lives. It's been so nice to see everybody and just interact and have all this positive news. I know that we're all excited and relieved and looking forward to all the awesome science that's going to come out of this, everything that it involves. And I'll just keep whipping out those press releases and sharing all the good tidbits on social media because that's usually where I am. I'm going to get a few more comments that we got on the live feed.
Go for it.
So hello from Parsons, says Shelly. Harold says, yay. Natalie says, awesome job, Will. Susan said, hey from Hillsborough, excited about Green Bank's involvement. Our Sophie, who was on here earlier, is so excited. Sonia says, so exciting, proud to know Will. Allegra says, hello to Lucy's bunnies.
Hello back.
Matthew really got excited seeing those images that you shared. Wanda, who I know is Amanda's mom, was really excited for putting this on, bringing us all together. So I know we're really happy for that. And we're very thankful for your daughter running our science center. Let's see, June loves the bunny hats. And that's where we are. I think we're all caught up. So
yes,
on here a long time. We're super excited. We had a great day. Thank you all for tuning in. Will and Amanda, I don't know if you want to say anything else or just give a final wave of Amber.
You can call her Amanda all afternoon.
Yeah, there's too many A's. I know. I'm thinking of Amanda on the other side of Facebook here.
Yes.
So, well, thank you all. If we're good to go, it looks like they're working anyways. That the work didn't end just because it touched down.
Exactly. One of the funniest things that came out of this was, I was watching the all of the people jumping up on on the NASA live feed, and then I got a notification that said the next GBT project is the H1, just exactly at the time. So the work doesn't end. The Green Bank telescope operates 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. unless we have horrible weather or need to do some upgrades. So after this, we're going to be going to do a hydrogen study of some extragalactic sources. You know, got to keep going, keep hustling.
Yeah. And for people who don't realize that, that's something I share a lot on our social media. You can see that schedule is available to the public. Anybody can go and see what's being observed when. There's a live feed of that goes directly to our Twitter. And it's awesome to see a lot of scientists or people on projects retweet that. They get excited when their project is being observed. But you can link to that. It's got its own website. So that's something we may throw up in the chat here. And again, I post it at least once or twice a week just to remind people that you can see what's happening. So, yep, here we go. Lucy's got
so right now, for the next 10 minutes, we are going to be doing Mars EDL entry. So we got Will Armentrout and some of our other scientists. And then the next project that we're doing is right here. We're looking at some neutral hydrogen in space. You know, we gotta keep going.
And you can see Ohio State, West Virginia University, Australia.
That's actually funny that DJ is doing the next observation.
Small world.
Yes.
Yep.
Radio astronomy is a very small world. But yeah, so really excited about not just, you know, the Mars landing, but all of the work that we're going to be doing in the future with NASA, with, you know, other researchers, other universities. Like, let's just keep going, keep creating more knowledge, keep creating more science.
Yeah. So yeah, I think that's a great place to end it. Thank you
so
much. You'll be able to watch this recording. It'll be archived on Facebook. I'll put it on YouTube. Some of the interviews that we shared today, again, those are on Facebook. There's even more than we had time to share. There's also more on our YouTube channel. And that's all there was to say. So,
thank you all for visiting.
Bye, Will and Amanda.
Get a little hand wave from the rabbit. He's not very happy with me. But
I keep saying Amanda, Amber. Bye, Will and Amber. Blah.
Oh,
you and tune in to what we share next, and stay tuned on our social media. Take care.
Absolutely.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.